Show, Sonic Garden Radio Live. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. Friday, the 8th. Friday.
Is it?
It is. Friday.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the mAng and Neads Show, live on Sonic Gardens Radio. And today we're going to be playing some Sonic Gardens music, shooting some banter, playing some clips from the Sleeping Lion sessions.
Ooh.
And, just seeing what else is happening. We got a live call-in number, 607-373-HEAT, if you want to give us a call and update us on what's going on in your area. And, obviously, biggest topic out there, everybody brawling over
a status update.
Whether or not fact-checking and the people that are in charge of fact-checking are actual stooge undercover for the New World Order. And that's what it seems to be the big debate lately.
Oh, I
and
didn't
everyone's
hear about
an expert.
I didn't hear about this.
But yeah, man. You haven't heard about that one, huh?
No, man.
Well, it's the same thing actually you brought up yesterday.
Oh, the Facebook doctors?
Yeah.
And the Facebook college? And everybody you know is a professor. And everybody you know is a doctor except for you and I.
Oh my God. And the way that they describe it, like,
hey man, like I told you about the
with like 100 misspelled words in there.
Dude, these people, that's one of my favorite things is when they find these memes. And the guy that wrote the meme, it's not even that he uses like words the wrong way, like your and
right.
That stuff. He just fucking just
annihilates
this fucking spelling of anything.
And that's just another thing where people are like, who cares? That doesn't mean anything.
Right.
And I don't know. I think it does mean something because it basically means that
it's like we were saying, like I was saying the other day, you can find dumb information that backs dumb information. Like you can find it all over. That doesn't mean it's fucking true just because 4 people think the same thing and don't really do research. Like you can find bad stuff on the internet. All these motherfuckers make a video.
Yeah. They so it's just funny because, obviously the stance, it's just nuts, man. That's all I can say. They somebody will put something out, look, this, explaining that this person has been debunked, and then they're like, yeah, right, says who, quit watching this. And then they say state-run media, and you're like, wait a minute, so you mean like Trump TV?
Right.
That doesn't make any sense. Like, so it's, what's that about? State-run, but it's not the actual president's state-run? That's weird. I don't get it. It's a big, but I'm glad I don't have any like dog in the fight, so I don't care.
Oh boy.
Let's just let that part, it's just weird, man. It's just weird. Yeah, everybody's like the anti-vaxxers, all the things that coming together, they think.
Anti-vaxxers.
Okay, fine.
Yo, anti-vaxxers.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this is our 54th straight day.
Jesus.
Running the mAng and Neads Show.
By Jesus.
Which indicates that we are reaching 60. 60 will indicate 2 full months of this new life. Wow. And new quarantine run, social distancing, life. And like we said, slow play. First it was like, 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
And a month. Now 2 months. And then they're like, oh, yeah, by the end of May, you guys will be good.
Right.
We'll see. But Italy seems to be, I think they're leaning towards opening up for tourism, which seems kind of, I guess that seems promising, but maybe it's more about a collapse in the economy or that they have it under control. I don't really know. I don't think they do, based on the last numbers I saw, you know.
Right.
But maybe.
Maybe.
Could
be.
So another grim, forecast on the weather. I noticed that we're looking at, just getting into the 40s for about another week. Although it did seem nicer than that out right now, huh?
Yeah, well, it's a little... Nah, it's not too much nicer than that.
But
42 or something.
Yeah, so it was almost like a week from now before it would be nice, So here we are, middle of May, and us Central New Yorkers, we are just not catching a break. We got keeping us down here.
Down in the gee round.
We're all right though. We're still running our show. Anybody that sitting home in the chill, bored,
in the
can
dark,
jump in, join us.
Call us up.
Call number 607-373-HEAT. Always looking for someone to share their experience. Let us know where you're calling from, and maybe how you found the show.
Yeah.
Cause we know you guys.
Found it.
Yeah.
Yeah. They know us.
Your mama told me.
Yeah. What did you find today? Any theories? Any anybody moving mountains or
my latest?
Your latest. No, you've been sitting around probably.
Thinking about. Hold
on.
Let's see.
Thinking about. What were you thinking about? The Japanese treasure of World War II, something like that.
Oh man, there was this day. Is that what it was? This day in history.
Oh boy.
But man, I can't. I guess. Yeah, I don't know.
You don't have anything. You've done lost it.
I done did. No, let me see.
In this day, he says.
There was something. Yeah, COVID mutated. No, that was yesterday that I found. Yes, I guess I'm just mixed up.
Well, 75 years ago.
What happened 75 years ago?
Oh, Great Britain and the United States, they were out there celebrating victory.
The end of World War II, correct?
Europe Day, yeah. Yeah, man. Put the flags out and the banners. They defeated the Nazi war machine. Oh, Hitler and his Nazis. They got him. They done got him. They had to have help, though.
Japan had not yet surrendered, I believe, right?
Right, that's why I said,
yeah.
But we taking the European states back for them.
Right.
Like,
we needed so did we drop the bombs?
They definitely needed our help, though. Like, there's no way in hell,
right?
Like, what?
We dropped the bombs after?
Pretty positive, yeah. Your boy Winston Churchill was over there with King George the fucking, what was he, the 6th?
Is that what he was?
I think.
What a man.
Yeah. Churchill he was fucking, well, he was around for the First World War, wasn't he?
Who, Churchill?
Yeah.
Was he? I don't know.
I believe he was.
He's been around a while, huh?
Well, I mean, he's not around anymore, right?
He had been around a while.
Right. Old Winston. He lost his graces with them, and then they brought him back. You know what I mean? Like, he was out, and then he was in again. Yeah, they needed him, though. He was a big help. Fucking A. Mang and Neads show. Fucking old Winston. He was hard at it over there. So no nothing about the Egyptians. Like, what's that thing they had? Who built that? Or what's the?
Oh, now you care about the Egyptians, huh?
No, I'm wondering. No, I still
You were dreaming last night.
No, I wasn't.
You had a vision.
It's all funny to me, but I guess I can't help laughing about. But yeah, did they build them? Like the eyes and those, like, right? It's like a half a. What is it?
The Sphinx.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, the Sphinx.
Ooh.
Well, the Sphinx is like the one that's interesting.
With the face and the body, like?
Yeah, like the erosion and the way that it, there wasn't water there in those times. So, they say sandstorms, but it would take longer than that time to do that. I don't know. What can you do,
Yeah, man. Churchill was in World War. He was the first Lord.
Holy moly!
Yeah, he was around.
First Lord.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
He was out there orchestrating shit. Fuck you. Imagine that. Well.
What else?
Not much. I've come to a standstill.
Come to a standstill today.
With Winston.
It's the end of the line.
I've learned a lot about him, but I don't remember. I don't know. I know a bunch about him. I don't remember it, though.
Put another...
Couldn't spit it all out.
Put another Buckshot's Brother on YouTube.
Oh.
Another song. Anybody wants to check that one out?
Oh, the one you played at the end yesterday, right?
Yeah, Buckshot's original.
Wow, you always gotta run your mouth.
That's
you fucking dirty bastard.
It's been around a long time, huh?
Yeah. Fuck yeah, man. At least fucking that's gotta be at least 15 years old. It's quite a bit. He never released it as a single, though.
No.
It can still be on his first album.
That's right.
His LP. Unless he only does an EP.
And that would be...
5 songs.
5 songs? What about 6?
Well, he can do 6-song EP.
6 would be a 6 EP.
6-song EP.
I wonder what makes it an EP. Is it because it's smaller? An LP is like bigger.
Right. 10 songs, right?
EP is smaller.
Right. Or maybe the minutes. Maybe you have to do with the minutes.
Maybe. We got a
caller?
Well, we got a new Johnny.
Oh yeah.
You sent it to me?
Yeah, he's on the tractor.
Wait, you sent it
I sent it to your email.
To the email thing again. Okay, let me try to get to it. Before
and after. He's driving the fucking Kubota down a trail. He's got a bunch. He's in there yipping and yapping again, driving and fucking videotaping himself.
On his tractor?
On his tractor. Going down a muddy path out.
He's got like a bunch of land or what?
I mean, somebody does. His dad probably.
And he's back there making it happen.
Yeah.
Let's see what we got. All right.
Pull it up. Oh, fuck it.
Here we go. We get a different view this time. Yeah. All right, guys. This is a nice little update from Johnny Camp out there. Unable to join the show due to hard labor. Getting it done out there in the world.
Heading down my little trail here. Got the old one-eyed wonder here. My handy-dandy.
Oh, Jesus. Holy cow. I wasn't prepared for the tractor sound. Thanks a lot, Johnny. We're going to have to flip that over here. All right. Let's see what you got.
Little Kubota got my ass out of the future jams here in the construction process. Moving my gravel around, doing what's necessary. There's my little driveway that comes on down. Goes right down on here. This is where the cops stop chasing me right here because they know they can't get through this shit. Just kidding. Looks way worse than it really
They
is.
can run after you if you're riding that thing.
Just a little bit of mud on top of some rock. We've had blocks get out of here.
You're only going like 1 mile an hour.
So this road's been beaten right down. It's been a wet spring. A little rain for last week hasn't helped anything. But we're motoring right through here. Taking my time on this
Fucking Johnny.
fine April 2nd morning.
He's done.
Moving right along.
Oh, this was April 2nd.
Up
Yeah.
here on the right.
This is early days. Early
Last
days of
time,
the
sorry,
apocalypse.
we will
Yeah.
see The circle of life here. Unfortunately, this is a deer that did not make it through the winter. It was taken by coyotes down here in the lower marshlands that we have here, not far from my camp.
He's not going very fast, is he?
He said he outruns the cops.
Damn coyotes.
This is where the cops
Way
stop.
down here around the bend, onto the site. Getting ready for a good day's work.
All right.
Fucking Johnny.
Thanks, Johnny. Thanks for the input. Appreciate
And
it.
it ended.
Yeah, that one though. When I turned it on, it.
Fuck, yeah, no, I heard
You
it fucking
blasted your
whack,
ears
yeah.
out. That was it. It was a 2-minute one. He was just giving us a rundown on that trail. But the best part was he goes, "This is the spot where the cops stopped chasing me." And then I'm watching him go truck. They can just get out of the car and tackle us.
He going a half a mile an hour. I like how they'll be able to find him if they watch our show, because obviously he goes down the rest of the trail tomorrow.
Yeah, cool.
Or I don't know, though. Maybe not. He might already be there. He might not have shown his hole.
That's right.
So, pocket.
Wait, so today is Friday? Or is it Thursday?
No, it's Friday.
I don't know, man. I mixed that up.
How would you do that?
I don't know. I just don't know. I don't remember.
Well,
I guess I thought it was Thursday. See? Starting to, play with our minds here.
not a chance. Not playing with Joshua's.
I did my shopping, and I
Shopify?
And I looked at the last time I shopped, and it was April 24th. So I got groceries yesterday. That's pretty good, man. That was like 13 days.
Oh, in a row. 13 days.
Well, 13 days before I went shopping again. I think that was,
You do good, Angelo. I went today. Took a trip to the store.
What'd you get?
Granola.
You love granola.
Yeah.
You mix it with peanuts and nuts and
Well,
like cashews.
Little nuts. That's my granolas for the morning.
You eat it with
I eat it with
almond milk
Well,
or anything?
yeah, cashew milk.
Cashew milk, really? I've never had that.
Really?
Where do you get that?
They got that old P-Chop.
Is it in a box or is
It
it?
is. It's a fucking. Well, I mean,
Like it's on the shelf in a box?
No.
Or it's in the.
it's in the cooler.
Okay, it's in the cooler in the
But
box.
it's in a. You know what I mean? Like the milk carton,
Yeah,
the big time one, not the
Okay.
one you drink at school or the.
gotcha.
Yeah, so I got some of that. I got some canned fruit and its own juice. I got myself some more coffee. I have a bunch, but I always have I make sure I never run out of anything that I like, that I'm not, like I only eat a few things.
Right.
I mean, I eat different things here and there, but I mean, I really only like.
There's the
like,
things that you know you're gonna eat week
Yeah.
after week. Yeah.
Yeah, like granola, I can eat a lot. I eat that like almost year round, either with oatmeal and hot, warmed up like I warm up about a cup, but I do half water and half cashew milk in it.
Okay.
Yeah, I
to
water
make it
down.
go a little longer.
I guess that whatever, but I just like I don't know. I just like watering it down, I guess. Yeah,
and then do you drink it up? You consume it? Is that same as like almond milk, consumed within 7 days of opening?
I think so.
And you get through it in that time?
Yeah.
I noticed that I've been getting almond milk. I mean, I kind of waste both milk and the almond milk, I realize.
All I do, though, is use that stuff for is...
the granola.
Yep, in the morning.
So like
granola,
cereal.
Yeah, I either do granola and oatmeal with hot, or granola and like oat bran, or I guess it's a lot of oats, or like this oat with almonds in it. So I do that. Some fruit. So I get some oats in me.
Well, you're gonna have a rough time in the apocalypse.
Am I?
Well, where are you gonna get your granola from? Where are you gonna get that
listen,
cashew milk? Jesus Christ! You need to get down to the
dude.
necessities.
I'll eat the fucker with water, but I can. Come on now, I'll be able to get oatmeal somewhere. If not, I'll eat fucking deer meat for breakfast. I don't give a fuck.
I know. I'm just messing with you.
I'm not, I can quit a lot.
Yeah.
Of things.
Oh, of course.
Remember, I'm the quitter.
You're the quitter, of course. So you're not. Yeah, you're not worried about any of that stuff, really. But that's your preference, you know. Me, I'm not much of a breakfast eater, although I
that's
do
the first thing I do when I get up. I get Mowgli's food for him. I start that thing for myself, get some coffee going for me, and yeah, I eat. First thing I do is eat that. Like, well, jump in the shower first, so it's not. Yeah, I shower first every day. Yeah.
I used to shower first when I was 8 to 5 in it.
Well, if I don't shower first, then I'll fucking, by the time I leave the house, it'll be fucking new, or you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I like to get, I'll just fuck around. I'll do my fuck around time like I do that after I shower, but if I do it before I shower, then by the time...
You'll never get in the shower, and then by the time you do, you just get a late start. No, I got you there. Yeah. Self-discipline is important. Really, you realize, like, when you get the freedom to just like do whatever you want, or you make your own choices as far as getting up, whether your schedule's off or different, whatever.
Fucking got up.
But it's important, it's like being able to keep yourself motivated and disciplined. Yeah.
I woke up like at 6:10 this morning. The sun was out and shit, and I'm like, and I had woke up a little before, or like an hour or something before then, or whenever it was first getting light out, and then I fell asleep, and I was like, it's about probably gonna be just about 8 or whatever. And then I looked at, I'm like, holy fuck, it's 7 or 6 something still.
Holy
moly! Then I tried to go back to bed for a little while, but
I haven't been up at that time unless I hadn't
gone to bed, right?
In a while. I can't remember the last time. Actually,
sunshine ain't so pretty when you ain't been to bed, right?
When I had to get Gabe to school. But
Gabe.
That was back when there was school.
Back when they went to school, yep.
Remember that, when the kids went to school?
2021, he might go back for the second part of the year.
That's crazy. Yeah. Who asked? Like my daughter, her birthday's July 27th, and she was like, am I going to be able to have a birthday party? And I'm like, I don't know. Maybe 2021.
Who said this?
Estella.
Oh. Why? When's her birthday?
July 27th.
Oh, yeah, she's screwed. Yep.
Poor girl.
Unless you get all her friends those bubbles that they get in.
Yeah.
Rig them up with loudspeakers so they can talk to each other and stuff. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's I don't know, man, whole new world. We're coming up on 2 months.
Or just go get it and see if you survive, right?
I don't think there's a big conspiracy amongst like the scientists, but I do think that, like we've been saying, they've been slow playing us because they can't just release information that creates mass hysteria.
Right.
And it could, I don't know.
Right. Not everybody's Hitler.
And because not everybody, it's like the whole theory of the having a peeing section in the pool.
Right.
And then if you take that compared with like the attempts to lock down and get people to stay away, and the failure, that we're looking at with probably what are we? We're probably getting up to 80,000 dead at this point.
Well, I don't know. And, maybe.
And
numbers are off though.
Yeah, and then the whole
Ask
thing.
some of the professionals that you know on your Facebook feed.
But the whole idea of
they know.
And then the whole idea of get back out there.
They report it.
And then, because all the waves, they go back down. Like what causes it to go back down unless it just like what happens? It just can't contaminate anymore, and it's like, oh, we're out of juice, like the virus.
No.
You know what I mean? Like that's the part I don't really get. Like why does the wave ever come back down until everybody's infected? But they're saying
AIDS never quit. Right? Like shit like that. Like this seems to be like, this is I would say it's more deadly, right? It acts quicker than.
But you see what I'm saying is if it doesn't quit, then why would it come down? And then you have to ask the question, can you get infected again? Are the antibodies actually...
What do you mean, why would it come down? Do you mean like it ain't going to fucking stop spreading unless you fucking stop the spread?
The only way to, I guess, or the other way would be everybody either gets it and dies or everybody gets it and lives. So all the people
you could do that, but if you were like... get it and die or get it and not die, if you could get it again, I'd like to know if they know that yet.
Get it and not die, survive, and then get it again.
Yeah, can you get it twice?
And then all of a sudden next time it's like, oh, this year it's more severe for me.
Right.
But again, we said there were 14 mutations. So
somebody said.
Maybe you're immune to the one, but you're not immune to the next one. But you're not, so those are the things that are, yeah. So you see what I'm saying? Like, why would the thing go down?
I officially am not a doctor.
Right.
But I do know fucking about 200 of them on my Facebook feed. Fucking A, man. Seriously.
No, I
just, anytime I have a problem, I just fucking randomly just pick a name from the hat that I put in out of these 200 people and call them up and ask them, what do you think is wrong with Josh? Yeah, and then the same people, the ones that aren't doctors, are lawyers. So, like, we're pretty good. We're set, pretty much. Got lots of smart friends. Or stupid ones. However you want to look at it. Me personally, I'm cool. I'm cool without getting it, to be honest with you. And also, these people that don't want to wear a mask and all that, say, I don't want to wear a mask, I don't have to wear a mask. I personally do not want to wear a mask, but I am also personally cognitive of that. I do not want to give, or if there's a chance of me not giving it, if I am asymptomatic, I don't want to give it to anybody. That's not nice. If you're sick and you don't know it and you give it to somebody, even if you don't like the people, and you're at the store and you got hot breath. I don't want to give it to somebody if I've ever had it. I don't know about yourself.
No, I don't either.
Right?
No way.
Yeah, so I'll wear a mask. It's not like
yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Well, we've been,
but we wear them.
Remember, we were wearing them. We were wearing them before.
Yeah, fucking A, we were.
You remember, we were the ones going in and everybody's looking at us and we're like, what do you mean? Right now's the time when it's
my fucking thing triple yeah, it was I had my N95, then I had that other thing over it, then another thing over it. I wasn't Yeah, I could barely breathe, but that's a good thing. That means there's not a lot coming in and out. I don't need to get sick. You never know, man. You know what I mean? Like, you might feel and look and think you're healthy as fuck, but you might have something underlying that you don't know about.
And
if you get that and it fucking exposes you, fucking boom.
Boom, you're out.
Yeah. We'll find out here, though, if it comes through and they let us out. We'll find out if there's another round, though. You know what I mean? We'll find out.
That's what we've been
right.
Here
but I'm saying we'll find out, though, like, if they were right about, like, hospitals being too packed and
well, they've already missed, like, a few
ventilators and shit like that.
They've missed a few of those dates, but, you know, again, when we broke it down to, like, Shenango County.
But they also did kind of, like, lock down and shit like that. So
that's why I'm saying when they came down to Shenango County, they were saying they were trying to push it from 250 people being hospitalized to keeping it down to about 50.
Right.
And that was like just about how many intensive care unit beds they had created. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So they've obviously, that's what everybody's complaining is that, oh, their numbers were so off that they didn't even need all this stuff. We just ran out there and made all, you know. But does that mean that there's going to be, 37 of those beds are going to be filled up, or 22 of those beds, or are they literally saying none of those beds are going to have anybody in them, and they've already started to, like I said, reopen? How can you reopen if we're still expecting a flood? So I don't know, man.
Right. Summertime, man. Living's easy. We'll find out. That's what it is. It's all a big waiting game. I got pretty much. Like I said, we're not going to be the ones that go running out, and well, at least you know what I mean. I don't think you are. I know I'm not like running out to, even if shit does open.
Oh, they opened it. Yeah.
What?
Like,
yeah.
Like that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, we're in.
I don't give a fuck. I mean, I don't care if they like. Yeah, I'm not going out to eat anywhere, like, and hanging out in a room with a bunch of other people, even if they're a ways away with somebody waiting on me. Maybe I'll get some takeout, but whatever.
Right.
I'm not going to any fucking bar. I wasn't going to any fucking bar before, really, so. Yeah, I'm not going to any concerts. So, they're all canceled anyway. You know what I mean? I'm not. I'm really glad they did cancel them, because I need to go do that to make to work, but I just don't trust it. Even, you know what I mean? Even if they let it go down, I just don't trust it, man. You never know, man. There's so many people. You never fucking know, like.
Dude, there's almost 4 million total cases in the world now. And there are 275,000.
See, I think they're like that number, right? It's not like it's kind of down, because there is a lot of fucking people in the world. So it's kind of down, and they're kind of doing a good job. But if you realize, like, everybody's been like real fucking cautious and locked down, and it's not it isn't a free for all. But people are trying to, over here though, people are trying to make it like one.
It's such a weird I
mean, how much thing. Like, if tattoo parlors and hair studios and stuff, are they're going to bring back our economy? You know what I mean? Like, they're the ones, they're the couple businesses that are going to make us boom again. Come on.
Well, they made some points with some of the like, somebody made a meme that was like, it seems like all the protesters aren't protesting they want to go back to work. They're protesting that other people in the service department need to go back. So there was like the people with, I want to get my hair cut.
Yeah, so those are the people that want to get shit done.
So they're not like being like, I want to go do my job. They're saying, I want you to go do your job, and you don't have an excuse to not be cutting my hair right now or servicing me in any, whatever you do in the service world. It just,
So why don't I
mean, some people obviously
people are fucking creative. Why don't they have why hasn't like some of these smart fuckers that don't give a fuck, that don't care about seeing other people, why haven't they set up a thing where they'll do house visits like in their areas? You know what I mean? Like they'll come cut your hair and charge a little bit more. Like I'm just saying, like there's all these people, you know what I mean?
If it was the person, right, exactly.
There's enough people, and people are smart, like to that point where they're business savvy. If they wanted to cut other people's hairs, they could figure it out, like where they could get 20 or 30 people, and you know what I mean, and still make a living, go into their house. A lot of people aren't working. A lot of people are home. Like it'd be pretty fucking easy to schedule the day if you were that, if you wanted to go see people, right? It wouldn't be any different basically than them coming into your store. Like you're going into their, I mean, there's ways around shit. If you want to be like, instead of bitching about it, just make it happen. Like you can make it happen. Like there's no doubt about it. You can go do somebody's fucking nails when they're home. They're going to be home at some point in the day. Like if you're that worried about shit, make it fucking happen.
Yeah.
Is what I like. I mean, like protesting, like go make money instead of fucking protest. There's ways around everything. Like, come on now, you know? Like, you're not going to get arrested for going to people's houses and do it. You are if you open your fucking business like some of these people do. L.A., they're trying to open, and then some people weren't complying, and they shut them the fuck down, some of the businesses.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, they didn't listen to, like, how many people they're supposed to have in there and shit like that.
Right.
So they fucking come in and drop the hammer, man. So, yeah. So what do you got for us? You got any...
Climbing.
What?
Climbing. It just, I don't see, you know, I mean, everything slowing down, right? New cases in the world. No, man.
No, it ain't fucking slowing down,
83,000.
Let's not...
It's just slowing down in the USA.
Well, I mean...
No, 1,300. I mean, we could easily
I need to find that fucking map I had yesterday.
We could easily
That map
be
was
at
good.
16 or 1,700. But what was that on how it's spreading or how...
What states were increasing and decreasing? I can't remember where I had it, though.
Oh, right.
Remember that one? It was like colored states and like percentages, and I was telling you about it, but I didn't have where it was. Yeah, we're not... I mean, yesterday we had 29,000 cases, right?
Yeah, and like
new cases.
Under 30,000 is a drop, but you know, we're not that much under. Still at that same kind of, yeah, here you go, daily new cases. Yeah, I mean, we're just still riding. See, they make
23.
a straight, yeah, 7-day moving average. So they kind of like set the line, like I was saying, because some days spike, some days
Georgia had 800 and something yesterday. They got 498 today. They're pretty opened up, right?
Yeah, but that's also higher numbers than they did have.
Yeah.
Right?
Texas had 1,200 yesterday. Today they have...
Well, and I don't think anybody's denying that people are going to get it. I think they just are saying that, hey, that's the number.
Let's do it.
And it's like, I can't believe that there are like that there were 800 car accidents in Georgia.
Wait, what?
Like how many cases yesterday? 800 new cases.
And you think
I can't imagine there were 800 new car accidents. Do you think there were?
Let me do some
research and get back to me. All right.
But hey,
it just sounds crazy because if you were like, you know, but I guess it is a very large state. There's a lot of people.
Did you see yesterday, or did you see that Georgia's one of them? They pushed through 20,000 16 and 17-year-olds things and gave them their driver's license automatically.
What do you mean?
They couldn't go take road tests and shit.
Oh, so they just gave them.
Yep. They gave them to them. 20,000 people. I guess Wisconsin was about ready to do it too. 16 and 17-year-olds.
Yeah, because they make so much money on that when they go and buy the license. They're like, that's a huge... That goes to show right there that there's no reason why they would shortcut something like that unless it was revenue. And then clearly
Right.
Dishing out a license is
Do they
revenue.
really need to put, like, they need to be on the road right now?
No,
right?
but like I said,
no, that's what I'm saying. Like,
it speaks more to the way the system is and how, I get it. They have to make money, and they get money by being the ones who authorize a license. So they're deciding. It's like shortcutting the vaccine. It's like, oh, let's skip the testing, just send it right out to the public. Same. Skip the testing on these drivers, send them right out in the public.
Right.
It's just it's a Trumpism these days.
Old Trumpy.
That's how Trump does it.
He's doing a good job, though,
Shoot
man.
from the hip.
Yeah, you're doing a good job.
Shoot from the hip. What's he doing a good job with?
I don't know. I thought you
being a corrupt, bloated, they're orange.
I mean,
douche.
I really don't. I really don't think any of them aren't, except for, I guess, you're. I mean,
well, whatever.
I don't think any of them are like, they've all, I don't know. I really don't think they're all fucking on it, or there's no way really that like, there's no way that you never got offered something that you can refuse. There's no way, man. You wouldn't be there's no way. I just don't see that. It's just like, you had to turn your head at one point in your life being a politician. There's no way, man.
Well, I agree.
There's no way, like, it might not have been anything real big, but there's no way somebody hasn't, man. It's just, there's too much, people are real ambitious when they get there, man, to those things. You know what I mean? They're real ambitious. They either want to keep it or they want to go higher than where they're at. Some people like to stay the governor. Some people want to go be the president. They want, you know what I mean? And when you start playing those games, you need people on your side. You need that big money just in your ear. You need something. And some of them rise and some of them fall. So, I don't know.
They dismissed the Flynn case.
Oh, imagine that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I saw that last night.
That was, that's one of the things I remember I noticed. And then you go to Trump, and he's like, well,
shit happens.
I didn't. Is that what's happening? I didn't hear that. But,
I love that. That's my favorite. That's one of my favorite things is when you see him getting interviewed. It don't matter what station it is either, but you see, they ask him a question. Well, I'll have to look into that tonight or get caught up to it. Or that's his new answer for fucking a ton of shit. They were asking him about that guy in Georgia and whatever and other things. And he's just, well, I haven't been brought up to speed with it yet. I'm gonna have to get there. I'll look into it. I want to know where, I want to get back to my, here we are. Look at that. Here comes Joshy. I want to know, I'm going to find out for us about the, I'm going to find out about the car accidents.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. Orange douche. I'm glad you like that, Derek. Most intelligent thing Josh has ever said on this show. Ryan Warner.
What's he talking about?
Laura Grassroots. Yeah.
Yeah, my ass. She talking about their like politicians, their grassroots.
Those are the ones that are not corrupt.
But they are.
Well, maybe.
Now. Yeah, you.
Nah.
I mean.
Well, they.
Come on.
Well, but.
Like I said, so it might not be something big, but you have fucking turned your head at one point or another. It's like the old, it's like the old mother that knows, but she doesn't. You know what I mean? Like she knows, but she doesn't. It's the old fucking, who's it gonna hurt until it does.
Laura also said it was Josham. Awesome with Josh. I've never seen that. That's great.
Yeah.
Josham.
She's a smart lady. She's one of the smarter people we know. She's also not a Facebook lawyer or a Facebook doctor, so
yeah,
that's a good thing.
Everybody laying low. Haven't talked to her in a couple days, but I see she's tuning in.
Yeah.
Nice.
Your dad come through yesterday. But he came through today too. But he comes through. He does a drive-through. That's awesome. He comes through, and he didn't stop. But he swung over by me yesterday. 4:00. I go, you got it.
Nice.
Oh shit.
Hey man, we're just trying to give everybody something to do.
Yeah, we got
that call-in number 607-373.
Yeah.
Anybody wants to call in?
Derek, why don't you call us up? I see you're watching. Why don't you call us up and give us some insight? We won't let you say anything too crazy so you get so they fire you from your job or anything. You can call us up and talk about whatever you want to talk about. What's the phone number? It is 607-373
Heat.
Heat.
H-E-A-T.
Yeah, H-E-A-T. In case you spell heat different.
It's called our heat line.
Yeah, fucking
Call us on our heat line. What else? Let's play a song. Maybe we'll get a call
we're gonna play a song for everyone.
Play a song.
Play a beat. You can rap for us. Bring back your early days.
The beats.
When you were 12.
When I was a 12.
Rapping.
Killing it.
Or maybe you were 13. Were you, or were you younger? You guys were killing it.
I don't remember.
Oh.
13.
13, right?
Killing it.
Standing on the course steps. Fucking boom.
We had all the equipment. It was cool because my dad had all the PAs and
right.
microphones. So even when I didn't know anything about music, because I didn't start playing guitar, I think, till I was like, I started when I was around 13, but I gave it up pretty quick. And then, when I was around maybe 15, I kind of rediscovered it.
Fucking A. Started playing the Dylan hits.
Realized that you didn't have to just start from the book and learn like Mary Had a Little Lamb first. And you could just skip right to like some chord progressions.
Mary had a...
Start playing some songs. So, yeah. But yeah, we had all the equipment, so microphones. So we just plug in some Beastie Boys freaking CD.
Oh man, way to go!
Turn on the vocals and just like be the guys.
Fucking tear it, yeah.
Be those guys, And,
what was your name? What was your guys'
Raz Murray.
Raz Murray.
Yeah, we had a symbol. We had a symbol and everything.
Yeah, you did.
All right.
I remember you guys at the court steps too, though. You'd be down there, somebody be beatboxing for you, and fucking. I wasn't cool enough to be able to come up the court steps. I was always on the bottom, but I remember you guys being down there.
I don't remember that one.
I do.
Yeah, man, that's cool.
I do.
All right, we're gonna give you a song here. This one's called "I Still Sing My Song." This one's written by my dad. This is like the one. Interesting tune because I knew the song because he would like strum it out, but I'd never heard this version until I was much older, and then I did a little bit to clean it up a little bit, but beautiful song written by Pep. This one's called "I Still Sing My Song."
All right,
performed by the Moonhill Band, New York City.
As a cloud
right. That's right. I still sing my song. Sunshine. Yep, sunshine, good times. Happy with the life I got to live.
Oh, yeah. What's this next hot jam they got going into?
Oh, I don't know. Oh. That one is whatever was playing.
Next.
That was Sweet Cherry Pop. Coming in hot. So, yeah, I think maybe Ryan's out there. If Ryan wants to talk, man, if he's ready.
Oh, boy. He's probably got his hands full.
Oh, boy, he says. He's ready.
What?
He's there, man. He's
probably hiding from his dad.
He's waiting on us. Let's see if we can get a little bit of input here.
Oh. I think... Oh, you're calling him?
Yeah, I'm going to call him.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, we're calling. Calling Mr. Ryan Warner.
He doesn't have time for you.
He ain't got time for the mAng and Neads show.
He's got shit to do.
Hi, your voicemail is Ryan Warner.
He's probably...
I can't take a call right now. You leave your name and number, I'll return your call as soon as possible. Have a nice day.
Have a nice day.
At the tone, please record your message. When you've finished recording, you may
Here we go. You're live on the mAng and Neads show.
Hey. Peckerwood. We were about ready to leave a message. Oh,
yeah, man.
Uncle
I had the volume too loud, man. It was louder than my ringer. I like that band.
I just like that particular song.
Yeah, those guys are cool.
And it's a good one.
Yeah, it's what I do best, liking bands.
Nice. Yeah, what are you up to, man? Didn't hear from you yesterday. I figured you busy. We just kind of roll through and
we fuck shit up is what we do.
Yeah, roll through and fuck shit up. No, today because I skipped it yesterday and but I made it. I tuned in probably at like 4:15 maybe, right when you guys were getting down to the business. That's when I made that comment, man.
Well, yeah.
Josh, look at the brains on Josh. What is common sense?
What I say now?
When first I tuned in and Josh was like, "Oh man, I got about 20 doctors on my friends list," and I was like, "Wow, that's crazy that Josh knows that many doctors." I'm like, I know like 4, and I have 3,000 friends. And then he's like, "Yeah, and the rest of them are lawyers," and I was like, "Oh, right," because everyone's a fucking genius.
Fucking hey, they are.
Yeah.
It makes me think, man. Like when we were going to school, you were an outcast if you gave a shit about the things that these people are committing their life to now.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you can't. Oh, you like politics? You watch and you listen to NPR. You do whatever. Actually, NPR. No, sorry, Fox News.
Yeah.
But these kids weren't in high school listening to Fox News, even if that was a thing back then. I don't know. They didn't
were kissing
care.
their cousins and shit.
You know? Yeah. They were getting their cousins pregnant.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of things like that.
Sitting by the pool, getting a stiffy when their cousin walks by.
There's no sport.
Oh, fucking hey, dude. This is a great. Boy.
Hey, sometimes on long trips, you talk about things.
Oh, shit.
I can't believe you told me that, Josh. That was gross. When you did that.
Hey, let me tell you what. I do pay attention, bud.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's crazy, man.
But the other thing, remember, there's no sports going on. So what do people have to be super knowledgeable about when they're not saying like, oh, that guy, the people that were like, I'm just going to stick to my sports knowledge.
Yeah, but and now they're like half of
faded.
These guys that watch sports or whatever still don't. It's
the same thing.
They don't fucking know.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's the same thing. Only now they're like, what do we got left? All we can talk about is this. All we can do is research and watch different videos of corruption and. They want to believe,
like I was saying the other day,
that there's something.
Just because you watch a video of some jackass saying something, and then you find another video of the same guy saying the same thing, doesn't mean that it's true. First of all, and doesn't mean that you did good research. Like
right.
It's just.
Did you happen, Ryan, to hear the topic when we were talking about the pyramids yesterday?
No.
Well,
oh my fucking! Here we go.
I just want to hear your input on it, and if you've heard of that guy, Graham Hancock.
Hold on, I gotta take a shot. I think I heard Josh say his "oh boy."
Yeah.
Wait, oh boy, here we go. Do I have to take 2 shots?
Yeah, right.
Jesus Christ.
So, yeah, no, I thought it was interesting. I mean, it's interesting. We pulled up a clip of him explaining it, and basically starts it out by saying, do I know how the pyramids were built? No. And he goes, and if anybody else tells you they do, then they're full of it.
I mean, obviously, somebody put fucking...
It makes
rocks,
sense, kind of.
He brings up a couple points how there he doesn't think that there was a possibility it was slave labor because of he said he's been in every tomb, or every spot, anything he could get to, he's seen it all, and just the workmanship is so superb that it is not, these are master, builders and masons and artists. It's not like it's not forced labor.
Yeah, I don't agree with it at all.
Yeah, hey man,
they
had the manpower. They had legions and legions of slaves back then. Everyone was a slave. There was like 10 people in charge.
This guy says they weren't, though, Warner.
He says there wasn't slaves in the ancient Egypt, or
but
whatever.
he also wasn't around back then.
Set my people free, weren't they? Wasn't that Egypt?
Yeah, but I don't know if that meant they were. I don't know, man. Again,
me either. Hey, me either, man.
I just, he's got interesting topic, but the reason why I brought it up was because, it's another one of these fringe, or like, what do they call that? The, science that's not like the mainstream belief.
Right.
Pseudoscience.
But it's not Sasquatch science, though.
No. And this guy, he's got all the...
He basically, Warner, was saying that he doesn't think that there was engineers qualified enough back that far, and enough of them to be able to mastermind that. And I
can't hear Josh.
Oh, you can't?
Oh, you can't. What about now?
Can you hear me now?
Nope.
Oh.
Some biatch.
Motherfucker. Huh.
I can see him.
Hold on a second.
I can see him giving his thermos a hand
job. Yeah.
Oh, you're not coming through this.
I can hear you. Shit.
Hold on just a second.
I didn't he hear me before when I said, oh boy?
Man, Josh, you got that old kung fu grip on that mic, huh?
Yeah.
There you go. Now
I heard him.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah. Holding her tight.
Yeah, don't let that thing drip on you.
Shit. So,
I hear him now. There's my buddy.
There he is. You heard me before because I said, oh boy, and you were running it.
Yep, I heard that.
Yeah, I don't know.
So basically the guy was saying that the engineers back then weren't, and there wasn't enough of them that were smart enough to be able to do something like that, is what one of his points were. But I disagree totally about that. I just don't see how you can think that only, like, if you fast forward 500, 600, 700 years, then you're or even further, that then your architects are smart or your engineers are smarter. Like, why couldn't there have been back then? Like,
I think just like today, man, like if our society collapses, we're not going to make it back to where we were. You know what I'm saying? Like, no one is going to be smart enough to do anything.
And that's his end theory, is that there is a missing piece to our history of the human race, and that he believes in a lost civilization that possibly could have got to even, the levels that we're at and beyond.
And left us
obviously
behind.
And then maybe, like, that's what I got to, was that I don't know if that was his thing, but my theory was, what if we got so advanced they knew that this big asteroid meteor was coming, so many people got off, and they just never came back, so it ended up being hundreds of thousands of years.
Yeah, but why would they have built the fucking pyramids and not?
Because not everybody got away, and they maybe anticipated that there would be survivors, and that it was a way to teach.
Yeah, but they didn't make it with enough room to fucking
like
house
the other thing is, like, the way the dimensions are, like, the base is, if you measure the base or whatever and you multiply it by a number, then it equals the circumference of the earth, and if you multiply the height of the pyramid by that same number, You get, it's just crazy that they had all the dimensions when people didn't even know that they were on a sphere,
Yeah, and their proximity to other pyramids are eerily like the Machu Picchu, and there's another one, and they make a fucking triangle.
And then
that's weird as fuck.
And then the most recent discovery was this Göbekli Tepe. Have you heard of that one?
I have.
It's like a reverse pyramid that drops into the ground. And then it was like, and it wasn't just naturally covered, it was covered by them to seal it off. And so they're using all these like, X-ray type things to be able to see into these chambers, and there's just tons of, remains and such. So I don't know.
I just don't like it that people from now like will discredit that they don't have the fucking. They might have a couple things that numbers and shit like that you think that might not have been able to, but you're discrediting some motherfuckers that built that thing that I just.
Yeah, but not if they're not, like, it's not like anything, yeah.
I mean, you don't have proof, you know what I mean? Like, there's someone fucking built it forever ago.
So your theory is that if you come up with the first reason, then you get to claim that as the
I mean, the things have been there forever, Angelo. Like, for a long time, right?
Yeah.
And there's no other proof of, like, that we did lose, you know what I mean? It's a good, like, it's a cool thing. I understand what you're saying. Like, we could have been this, but there's no, like, hardcore proof for sure.
Well, one thing that I always remember, well, not always remember, but I try to, especially recently, is that our misconception of our bodies and our energy and how the two are the same thing. You know what I mean? Like, when you mentioned travel, like, only certain people left or they were able to leave. You remember, man, you don't, like, if you're going to reach the next plane, that's leaving your body behind, in my opinion. Like, if you reach a certain, if you're going to be that kind of advanced civilization, it's when you listen to these people talk, it's the first thing you have to do is realize that your body is just not a construct, but it's not who you are. It's just where you are right now. You know what I mean? And it seems like that far out shit that Egyptians were into, and if they did make it to some kind of crazy civilization, that their bodies wouldn't actually have to leave the planet. You know what I mean? Maybe they found something out to where they could just, I don't know, transfer their energy or whatever it is. But somewhere along the lines, like, that's why they can discredit the engineers. Somewhere along the lines, we slipped back into, obviously Dark Ages were after the pyramids.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But it's I'd have to call up Duncan and ask him, see what he thinks about.
Oh, fucking boy. I just don't I mean, I just think people could have been fucking smart enough back then to build.
Yep.
Than right now. Like you were saying yesterday, Ange, you don't even think anybody could build them now.
Yeah. No, they don't know how they did it.
Right.
Well, these things were like
but that doesn't mean something can't be done.
These are like blocks that were 70 tons.
They did it with limestone.
And they were like 70-ton
they're heavy
blocks,
fuckers.
And they did like, 300,000 of them or something, whatever it is, to make it. They had to haul some of them up 300 feet to stack. I mean,
they also made a wheel out of a fucking rock back then. So let's.
It's a little easier. That's a little easier.
Let's not. Yeah, but still, you have to have the idea to get something to be able to think that something can roll.
So the way they depict it in, like, stories, or like the way movies, when they try to fit it, is they always show these like wooden, scaffolding like type of roll up, and whether it's a cartoon, and they try to like explain it that way.
Now we're on.
Yeah, they show 400 people with a rope that goes up, and like pulling it. Yeah.
One at a time,
Pulleys. So. They had some pulleys.
And just as an artist, Ryan, and if you entered something and you could like witness the beauty of the, not just the construction, but the actual artist work put into making it so perfect and beautiful. within.
See, that's what gets me about Egyptian culture is how, like, the arts were huge. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
Right down to decorating your body and everything.
And that was the most important. That's what they stressed the most. And, Egyptian art is held, like, there's Roman, that's pretty big. Like the ruins and the architecture in Rome was.
What's this guy's name, Angelo?
Was crazy.
Graham.
But
Hancock.
Yeah, but the whole artwork behind Egyptians is what leads me to the fact that they found the third eye, and they realized that it wasn't actually an eyeball, and it's not in your body, it's somewhere else, and that whole thing. But I would love to think that it was aliens, you know what I mean, and not humans, or, for all I know, like Earth was a little vacation home.
Well, then, like I'm saying, though, there is the possibility that they were able to make contact with the previous culture, like, in one way or the other. Maybe they helped them, even if that was the thing, they somehow through those pyramids were able to connect with that.
So what's this guy think?
They were into some crazy shit. The whole, like, gods with, all the different heads and the the bird head and the whatever.
What's this guy think about, like, the Great Wall of China?
I love that shit.
What's that?
What's this guy think about the Great Wall of China and shit?
I don't
like
know.
that?
You tell
big
me.
Feats no, I'm asking you. Because that's a big feat.
How do I know what he thinks about it?
I don't know. You know about the guy.
Yeah, but that with the Great Wall of China, that was like documented, wasn't it? That wasn't that long ago.
Well, I mean,
that wasn't Egyptian times.
No, I'm not saying that. But I'm saying it was quite a while ago, right?
Yeah, that was 25. That was probably 600 years before Christ.
It's too bad we don't have any archaeologists on Facebook. When are all of my friends going to turn into archaeologists?
Oh, don't worry, we got a couple.
The transition is going to be constitutional scholars,
right?
And then infectious disease experts, and then lawyers and infectious disease experts with a minor in constitutional expertise, and then they're going to go on to architecture and things like that. I was trying to look for a clip, man. I found something about a guy giving a short statement, but a very poignant one about how expertise has been shunned so easily, and it's just it's the culture now is like they found just a loophole to where you can convince people, don't listen to the experts. They're being paid to tell you what they're telling you.
Yeah, right down. That's gone right down to like Rogan with the flat earthers. Flat earthers are like, oh, he's paid. That's why he doesn't believe it, and he used to be into UFOs and he's not anymore. It's because they paid him off.
Who?
That's what, like, the conspiracy is, that even a guy like Joe Rogan has has been sold out to the the same, like, Clinton Foundation type people.
Nope.
Well, I don't know about any of that, but I really don't. So I'm
smart enough to know that Plato said, "All I know is that I know nothing."
Well, that's what Operation Ivy said on their opening song on the album.
All I know is that I don't know nothing.
I'm telling you what, my buddy Justin Rickard,
the great
Justin Rickard, who is the most cynical and doesn't believe anything. I can't tell him shit without him being like, "Oh, I'd like."
Wait, when you do your story, he.
Oh yeah, you can't, man. You
good.
Can't
I fit right in. Fucking.
He's like Joe Rogan.
He
will shake you off quick. He's like, don't even go there if you can't back it up, and you can't say they. He doesn't like that. Well, what they're saying now is, and he's like, whoa, who's they?
Right.
Find out who they are, and then waste my time with what you're going to tell me. He's a good dude, and he's not into philosophy. He doesn't smell his own farts or anything. He doesn't think he's very smart, but he's a lot smarter than I am, oddly enough.
Well,
but
I mean,
that was one of the things he told me, and I was like, wow, I didn't know about it. And I'm telling you what, man, that's what the Facebook crowd needs to hear, because they believe it so quick. Yeah, so quick, man. And they know it. They think they fucking know.
Wait, what?
You know what I mean?
Wait, say it again.
That people think they know something.
Oh,
conspiracy theorists or the mainstream people or the media people, they think for some reason that they and their people have found the one outlet of the truth, and that is the truth. And if you ever think that you know that your information is solid and where you're getting your information is solid, and it's better than other people's, you are being fooled, man.
That's the same as religion. The concept of, oh, I'm this religion and I'm all right, but man, all those other people that believe in this, geez, or the main, which is I'm a Christian, you're a Muslim, so you want to kill me. And
I just believe the children are free.
Yep. Well, I mean, have you guys talked about Plandemic yet?
What? Oh, fucking boy, I can only imagine.
I believe the line is, I believe the children are the future.
No, I believe the children are free.
Was that Whitney Houston?
No. I believe the children are free. Teach them well.
No, I believe the children are the future. Teach them well.
Your children well.
You can't just say that's like a vague statement to say I believe the children are free. Like which ones? What are we talking about? But you say the children are the future. That kind of makes sense.
Angelo, you can't switch the
lyrics.
Well, I mean, you can.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're like one of Josh's T-shirts, man.
Oh, okay.
Hybrid.
College
collage.
That's what.
What does that say? College with one L.
No, it's John did so he made like a bunch of, I don't know the whole reasoning behind it, but he made a bunch for somebody and they must not have took them. Like he even made ones for their kids. Like he spelled like mucus wrong on one of them for them, and all the words were spelled wrong or whatever. But I got them. So what am I gonna do with them? So I just fucking.
It's kind of funny. College with one L. It's pretty.
It's great, right?
The Jim Belushi College, yeah. And I was like, what the fuck?
And I don't wear a large, so my good friend in there does. So
yeah, nice.
But I'm not wearing it right now.
Yeah, I posted a picture
yesterday.
of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that's a good
extra
one.
long.
Yeah.
Smelled nice too. That shirt smelled nice, extra nice.
Oh man, I'm telling you what. It's like having a flower garden. A flower garden of, like Doonchi music. Josh's shirts, if I can give an audio representation of how Josh smells, it smells like this. Did I do
it? Maybe it's that print ink and the prints on it or something, but it like smelled good, man. I just remember being like, oh, it smells like a new shirt. Right
good smelling shirt over there.
Right out the package.
It's a good
smelling. So have you talked about that, the Plandemic? You know what I'm talking about?
No, we have not.
I have we briefly discussed it, but I have not watched it. And I'm just like, basically, I'm at the point now, and maybe that's the intention, is to muddy the waters so much that I just am not really. Yeah, I'm sticking to just even if they want to tell me I can't believe Fauci, or if Bill Gates wants to tell me what's been going on, I'm okay with that.
Well, I found out about it after scrolling through my news feed and seeing that dude with like silver-colored eyes and hair.
Right.
Plandemic, this and that. And then I see all these people sharing it, right?
Yeah, tons of people.
Dude, they share
it. Good read.
It's
a good read.
Yeah, I'll just leave this here.
Watch before they delete it. Is that one of the ones too? Watch this before it gets deleted. Motherfucker, bang your head on the wall. Come on.
So I didn't read it, right? I just skipped through it.
I didn't read it either.
All I do is I read the names of the people that post it.
Yeah.
And that's all I need to know.
Yeah, it's like a bag of douche, right? And then all of a sudden they're all fucking buddies. It's a fucking.
Well, there's one.
There's one good guy.
Maybe a couple people.
We got a couple good guys that got lured in.
Well,
taking a trip to the other side.
There's people that are in the middle, that I can't peg either way, and they also shared it.
My favorite thing is when somebody
right, the middles, the conspiracies.
Yeah, but my favorite thing is when you got these people that you know, like no matter what, that are smart as fuck, and then they just go off on these people with their fucking bullshit videos, and they're like they're on the right side about it, and they're not like,
and they're intelligent,
and and you know they're intelligent. They went to fucking 8 years of college, and they're don't ask me why I'm how I'm friends with somebody
so knowledgeable.
But people do like me for
Josh
some
had to
reason.
pay him to hang out with them. They're called lawyers.
Yes. Fuck yeah, that's my favorite joke of the day. Shit, yeah. But anyways.
So my thing, this is how I found out about it, right? I scrolled past it, and I was like, oh, this shit. And I was like, whatever. I was just like, nope. But it was just overwhelming, it was everywhere. And so then I already told you how it was on day one when my parents came home.
Right.
So we had to stress, my dad wear a mask, and my mom and dad both wear a mask, and we had to put up barricades in the house. And
don't worry, everything that you said that day, I did a little video of that, and I sent it to him.
Oh, I don't doubt it, man. Hopefully it'll help him.
I want to give him some ammunition.
So we have a 3-year-old, and that's why we had to put up the barricades. Not really. And
that's what you told him.
You
are a
and it's
sly
like the dogs.
motherfucker.
We don't want the dogs, whatever. So all that, and
you are a sly fucker.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And but it's it's pretty good. He kind of came around, and I had to tell him some things, and like I said, I had explained to him what asymptomatic was.
Right.
And all that shit.
He'd been hanging out with the governor of Georgia.
Yeah. So it's cool. They're up in there. Their suite that we made for him, and I'm bringing him up dinner or something like that.
How much rent are you charging him?
And he's like, "Hey, did you get that link I sent you? Did you get that link? And I hadn't even looked at my phone. I was like, no. He's like, well, check it out. Check it out. Real eye opener. My dad hates Trump and everything that he stands for. You know what I mean? So I'll put that out there. And so he's like, oh, real eye opener. He's like, and he looks at me as if as if I'm like he knew more than I did, or it was like a real gotcha moment. He's like, oh, you didn't read it? Oh, that's funny. Are you sure you didn't read it? I'm like, no, I didn't read it. And he kind of looks at me like, are you lying? Did you read it?
Because you don't want to admit that you're busted.
Yeah, did you not want to admit that you were wrong about everything you said? Look, and I didn't even know what he was talking about. He's like, oh, well, hey. Maybe you should do yourself a favor and read it.
So you read it then?
Read that thing I found on Facebook.
Right. Did a lot of research, Ryan.
Yeah.
Facebook.
So,
took me a lot of weeks to find this information. Pick up my phone,
and sure enough, it was that super handsome, silver-eyed dude. Well, not super handsome, but whatever. Just people that look like that, they choose them for the news anchors because he looked like the conspiracy theory guy.
Looked like a pole smoker.
So there you were, and tell me more about how to smoke pole. So anyway, yeah, it was pandemic. And I was like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. So now I had to watch it because I'm like, what are these assholes feeding my dad? And mind you, every day in America, 120 people fall victim to internet scams.
Right.
Your dad is one of them. That person is my dad.
So can you give me a quick rundown of the pandemic? Like when I say quick, I mean,
tell us about it.
Not forever.
Right. It's
no
honestly
pressure.
they don't even make any bones about it. It's basically Fauci funded something that would create mass deaths and irreparable harm on your immune systems. That way the pharmaceutical companies can keep you sick and keep you whatever. But it's real convoluted. But they made some statements that Fauci was out to kill people. He was a bad dude. And that's what their goal was to kill millions or some bullshit like that. I skimmed through it. But
is there proof
now? Let me mention this part. My dad thought Fauci was a Republican because he stood next to Trump. So, but he's he does work with the Clintons and everything like that. So
yeah,
but he didn't know that.
He goes way back, Reagan, right?
So
yeah,
Oh, he's been doing it forever.
Yeah.
I mean, they showed the video but it's got your two buddies on Fox News that sit in the banquet room. Those two two dudes in scrubs.
Yeah.
They're in it, being like, oh, what do you're gonna wear a mask, you're gonna this and that, and you got to let the fauna and flora and the bacteria, whatever, you're gonna let people out, and we're gonna get diseases. And it's
that was the latest.
Why do you think they were in the pandemic? And then another guy that rants, again, a guy in scrubs on his phone ranting, I'm a doctor, and I am furious that more people aren't upset about this. They're taking your freedoms. They're taking your freedoms and your liberty.
All of a sudden, they're Alex Jones.
Yeah.
They took our damn. So, but you see those little things, and I'm like, both these motherfuckers are on Fox News, right? So I was like, that's something. And but the long and short of it is, it's a huge conspiracy theory that Bill Gates wants to microchip everybody, and Fauci funded it. And Fauci invented the coronavirus because it didn't exist before they started doing tests on it and all that shit. And this lady was arrested and put in prison for 5 years. Or some long thing, and they drummed up all this stuff, and she was falsely imprisoned with no charges, and they could never find any evidence, and blah 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 blah. But it was such wacko conspiracy theorist shit.
Right.
And she was saying that you already have SARS and coronaviruses in you, right?
Yeah.
You have them in you, and by putting a mask on.
Is she a real doctor?
She was, but
she got disbarred.
Yeah, something like that. She hasn't published anything in 12 years, and she's an anti-vaxxer, and she's been on every conspiracy theory, little podcast, AM radio shit.
Right.
And again, I barely know. I just know that she was full of shit. I did myself a favor and didn't even really watch it. I just wanted to know. It's almost like I have a 3-year-old that watches cartoons, and the reason I know he's watching a cartoon he shouldn't be is he displays behavior that's troubling to me. And I was like, what has he been watching? And then I have to go watch it to find out who's poisoning my kid.
Yup, right there. Oh,
right there. That. He's got an anvil.
Yep. So now I have to do the same thing with my dad. So I watch it and skim through it. And
stick to baby Einstein, man.
Yeah, but how do you even that shit is so? Doesn't that shit irk you when you're fucking watching it and it's just so bad, so terrible?
Yeah.
And
the dude was so concerned, and so the interviewer, he's like, so what you're telling me is,
but aren't they smart enough?
If you did come out and speak, they would have killed you or done something. Oh, sure, yeah.
Aren't they smart enough? I know damn well, if you were to make one of these kind of videos or whatever, you'd be smart enough not to just come out and be one-sided. You'd be.
No, that's where it is. She doesn't come out. She makes a statement that seems like it's against Trump, but it's not. And they were pretty convoluted. I'm telling you, if they would have come out and said this supports Trumpers, he would have not watched it. But they didn't do that. You know what I mean? He thought if it's against Fauci, it's against Trump. And so he was like, yeah, I believe this because it's whatever. And sorry, Dad, if you're listening.
And then the other ones, and then the people that do, they're really, and then the people that already are questionable about Fauci.
Yeah, but why does everybody always got to go after someone?
And now that's what Josh said that was smart.
Yeah.
And everything else. You don't make it to national TV on a podium next to the president in any capacity, no matter if you're a scientist or a politician, without turning your head or doing some dirty shit. You know what I mean? That comes with the territory. It's got to. I would have to imagine.
His dirty shit is really just not being able to open, at least right now, is not being able to just say, look, don't pay attention to this president. He is, But
there's
he's
also in bed with big pharma too.
But there's also
that's made in China.
There's also this right. There's also this good cop bad cop thing that I feel they have going on. It's like Trump is playing the good cop bad cop, both of them, because nobody else will play the bad. He has to, as the president, calm the people.
Right.
Yep.
But he needs a bad cop that he can but nobody can be more bad than him. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? So it's
I do.
So
that's
he's
a good
just
one,
so he just kind of gaslights his own types of things. Like what the fuck about disbanding the task force And then by the time the news got the articles out, by the time they started running their shows to bash him, he flipped. And they had all the stuff ready. They're like, here's Pence saying this, here's that. And then they're like, no, we're not going to do that. It's going to last forever. And it's just like, what? They even asked Fauci. I remember he was caught hearing it live on air. And he's like, oh, I haven't heard anything about that. And then within, so yeah, that was kind of weird.
That fucking dude looked straight into fucking that Doris Burke's eyes and asked her about putting sunlight into them or fucking...
Yeah.
Dude,
yeah.
You cannot... I don't give a flying fuck. You look... If you go back and you watch that video, he didn't have a smirk.
Serious as a heart attack.
Yeah.
One of our friends and a listener of the show, she had posted the article, saying, please, friends, everybody that's resharing this, it's been completely, debunked and all this. And then you got all the replies. It was like, that's the other thing that sucks about not wanting to get involved is you want to defend like people that are on the right side, but you don't want to get involved. But the people that do want to get involved are the people that want to bash them. You know what I mean? So everybody comes back with, oh, quit drinking the mainstream Kool-Aid. They, that's the response. And then they learn
those phrases, man.
Right. And then
but they watch the fucking news in the first place, so they wouldn't know any of this fucking shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're not watching some ho-dunk Channel 12 news. They're watching fucking Fox or AON or OA or whatever the fuck it is. They're watching one of them through 2 or 3. Like, they're not just watching Channel 12 WBNG. We're giving them a plug. Fucking, that's Warner's home station.
Yeah, that's just like straight up,
people
gives you the facts. You know what I mean?
Yeah. They're
so
not.
Listen, just to put a bow on this this thing, I watch it and I'm like, Jesus Christ. So all I do is like screenshot the dudes that I knew were on Fox News and look up their names, and all I wanted to do was screenshot those people on Fox News with the Fox News banner running underneath it.
Right.
So I do that. There's 3 people in the documentary that are on Fox News, and the documentary actually shows a clip of what's their name, Burke, on Fox News. Yeah. So anyway, I screenshot those 3 things.
I
go upstairs and with my mask on, and he looks at me. He's like, "So did you
watch it, Ryan?
Did you did you read it? Huh? You
my little white mic."
Yeah, and I'm like, yeah. I'm like, Dad, this and that. And I'm like, this is just conspiracy theory stuff. I'm like, I hate to tell you, man, because you seem so into it. But, I'm like, Fauci isn't a Republican, He's like, oh, no, he doesn't have a political affiliation. I'm like, oh, okay. And then, I'm like, well, this guy, I'm like, you see these guys, And I'm like, here they are on Fox News. And Dad's like, oh, you're kidding me. You're shitting me. I'm like, so what, Fox News was against them? And I'm like, no, dude, they were promoting that story. And I'm like, Dad, everything you're telling me, everything that you're saying, this whole thing, I'm like, you should be storming the Michigan State Building. That's this documentary, this whatever it's called. I'm like, these are all the talking points of the people that are trying to open society back up. And then Dad says, it's like, well, that's this and that. And he's like, I just think, you, and then he's not wearing a mask now, right?
Your dad.
And he's like, yeah, did you read the part? Did you see the part where masks are actually more dangerous? Do you have more of a chance?
They restrict your breathing of taking in good oxygen. Like all the things people were saying is just like,
yeah,
what?
It builds up the viruses that are already in your body to a toxic point because
these are the same people that fucking smoke cigarettes and fucking
well, so he's telling me that. He's like, yeah, well, he's like, so now he knows that masks are more dangerous. They're putting you in more danger.
Oh boy!
And we need to build an immunity. We can't hide from this virus.
I heard somebody tell me that earlier.
We need to get out and build.
That's one of the old
herd immunity.
Yeah, but they were telling me about using the hand sanitizer too much. That's
true. It's always been true.
What?
That if you sanitize too much, like especially with your kids, you got to let your kids get out there and get a little sick.
Let them
pick each other's noses.
Right, but you can still
elementary.
You can,
and it's not during a pandemic.
It's
not during a
yeah, exactly.
Pandemic.
You can still get stuff like that, whatever, and still keep your hands clean. You can still get bad bacteria without, you know what I mean? Like,
So anyway, he tries to tell me that I'm putting myself more of a risk, and masks are actually dangerous. This is coming maybe 40 minutes after he watched this.
So you were up. So did you just rip your mask off then upstairs? Fuck it.
Yeah. And I was like, Dad, man, I was like, and he's like, no, I looked it up. I do. You know what? I'm not like everybody else. I do my research. And he's like, I've researched this doctor, and she's legit. She's legit. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, okay.
He did the old research where he found one thing on her.
Yeah. So I
and it was
from
another conspiracy.
He's like, oh, that's not good. That's not good. And then I just kind of let it go because there's nothing you can do. I just told him, I'm like, whatever. And
it smells good.
So it wasn't, I don't know, 2-3 hours later that once most people start seeing this, and then people that know start debunking it.
Right.
And debunking every single aspect. She was arrested with proof. She was fired, and after she was fired, she stole documents. Granted, they were her documents, but it's not. If you're employed by someone else, they are not your documents. You were an employee, and they belong to your employer, even though you wrote them. But there was a whole bunch of stuff, man. And granted, the conspiracy theory works and everything, but she wasn't in prison for 5 years. She was in prison for in jail for 5 days,
right?
And because she stole equipment and documents. And granted, they could have been lying. The conspiracy theory still holds up because it's a conspiracy theory, so I can't say it's wrong. But it's, my thing that I told him was who benefits, right? Who benefits from this information, And it's the people that want to open up the country. The whole, you got to get immunity to this virus. He's like, we shouldn't be hiding away from it. We should be out there exposing ourselves to it.
And then point number 2, it was China's fault, and they need to be held accountable. I'm sure.
Right.
Man.
Yeah. The Wuhan virus.
Right. Why does it matter?
I started looking into it, and I did the Facebook sin of I looked directly into. I'm like, all right, who's debunking this story, right? As opposed to looking it up, I was like, look for someone who says she's wrong. You know what I mean? So I know that's not how you're supposed to look things up, but time is of the essence because we're quarantining in the same house.
Yeah,
and he's taking his mask off. And he's like, I'm gonna go cough on your mom. Yeah, no, I'm kidding. But but that's what I did, and I didn't even have to. It took no time before the left came back out and just, they poked so many holes in this thing. So I didn't even say anything about it. I just kind of let it ride. And of course, he scrolled Facebook until, But the sad thing is, and this is why I'm upset about the people that post their information, is they start it with, now, if any of you are stupid enough to have believed this pandemic thing, so I'm like, well, I can't share that video with them.
Right.
And that's how everyone came out at it. Like, all these dumb motherfuckers. I'm like, nope, can't share that one. And, but he still reads them.
We should look up the Vic DiBiase reply to it.
Oh, did he?
Oh, boy.
He's got to. He's got
Fucking Andrew's homeboy. Why don't we look up the Cartnarks and see if they did a little special?
Yeah.
They stick to their thing, dude. They don't get political. Cartnarks aren't political.
He turned it around pretty quick.
Your dad?
He was like, man, and then he actually gave credit to the misinformation. He's like, they're good. They're good. They almost got me.
Does your mom say anything about any of this?
No, my mom sat there covering her face with her sweater.
Mask. Oh. She had the mask on, Josh.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's gonna be a long ride.
Yeah, but no, he's really come around. Like, he still doesn't get door handles. He doesn't think you can transfer it by touching and things like that. But it's cool. We just we just follow him around like we do Emmett and
right.
Whatever
Wipe
he touches, we don't tell
down.
him. I don't want to annoy him.
Right.
So
did you wipe the door? It's like just wipe it. Fuck it.
Yeah, we just watch everywhere he goes and wipe up behind him. It's
boy,
cool.
I can
but
only
he means
imagine.
well. And then the scariest thing is after he realized that was a big conspiracy theory and she was full of shit and it was all a thing for the anti-vaxxers and to open up the economy again. He's like, okay, whatever, they got me. which is cool because most people don't, especially his generation. They don't like that.
And
that
it's
sort
like
of thing.
recycled.
He'd be so embarrassed.
Like I remember, just going down, like whatever, you take your kid to McDonald's and you want to just sit in the little thing, and they got that Fox TV just cranking.
Wait, what?
And this was back when when things were open, and like
at McDonald's they got Fox News
cranking.
Fuck out of here.
Yeah,
that's
dude.
the manager. That's the manager
cranking on the TV, right? And
you got
to sit there and just listen to them, constantly. It was about Mueller, and then it was the impeachment, and it's like they're always just constantly all day debunking it, yelling it out. And some people are cozying right up to the TV to eat their lunch.
They're the worst, man.
And then
what the fuck, dude?
And it's just like, it just upsets me. I've actually
I would hate to have the brain in my head where I think that watching that there's no news there. It's all either conspiracies or blowing some dude that, all right, maybe not blowing him, but being so...
Just a quick little insert there. Derek wanted you to make a shirt that says smoke cigarettes and suck dick.
What?
That was his line.
That was my line there.
He said that earlier. Remember?
Yeah.
All these same people are smoking cigarettes
and sucking dick. Fuck.
Actually, I saw a good one about shirts. It's Brad Reifenberg shared it, I think, Josh.
Yeah.
And it's just a little sketch of a duffel bag.
Right.
And it says shirts till it hurts.
Yes, I saw it. Yes.
So good, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man. That was too good, man.
I like him. He's a good guy.
Yeah, he started woodcutting. He's doing artwork now, man, and it's legit. It's good.
He's doing wood cut, and then he puts like ink on it, right? And then that kind of printing, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Linoleum and wood block. And for those of you who are listening, this is a dude who's comes to all the fish shows and dead shows. He's about 6'3", 300 pounds, maybe 280. And his eyes are always, he's got blue eyes when they're not black. Right. And he's just spaced out.
He's a great
drunk
guy.
And out there, but good dude and, pretty smart. But he just really goes deep into the psychedelics and other things. So to see him actually do something like that, I was like, holy shit, man, that's like legit artwork for a dude who I thought wouldn't even be able to spell his name.
Right.
But yeah, that's rude. I shouldn't say that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But here I am talking shit about my dad. Oh, it's snowing out.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is.
Yep. We don't get a break up here in central New York.
Fucking CNY.
We go right from coronavirus lockdown. Can't get out of the winter. Slumbers. They give us one nice day.
Well, we shouldn't. We don't. I think that's the
I was
sign.
outside today. It was beautiful.
We don't need good weather.
Yeah, me too. That's why I didn't think it was snowing, man.
We don't need good weather right now. Because if good weather comes, then these fucking Einsteins will be out there with their 80 friends and their fucking kids, risking their kids' lives because they don't give a fuck. You know what I mean?
That's the scary part, man.
That's the stupidest fucking thing I've ever... I'm like I say a million times, I'm not the smartest person in the fucking world, but I know enough.
That was me, but yeah.
I know enough that just because you believe in something, whatever about risking life, and you're in your 40s or in your 30s, you don't need to risk your child's.
Well, yeah. Well, think of the anti-vaxxers, man.
Yeah,
well, like,
and those people, though, Warner, those people, most of them are fucking vaccinated.
Yeah.
It's like a flip in the another part of it too is like how we get into the work world and the economy and live in the rat race, as we call it.
Motherfuckers.
And you start to doubt like what it's all about. Like, you kind of you get a better job, you just expand your living expectations, basically to the point where it doesn't matter how much money you make, the majority of people
you're gonna stretch it out too thin.
Yeah, are living outside of their means, and so then there's the voices that speak up and say, man, there's something wrong with the way that this is, and everybody's like, oh, shut the fuck up. That's the way economy, capitalism, all that shit. And then the flip side, like where now the majority of the people are like, let's listen to the officials and the experts and do what they say. But then there's the minority that are they're still riding on that same like capitalist and money and push it open, that whole thing. But it's like, they're almost like a minority now, I don't know if I got lost in what I was saying.
I think you did. Man. It was a short lose
grasp of it. But what I don't know. What I'm just trying to say is that like the majority of the people realize that we got to do what we have to do to survive. The humanity and life is more important than I guess a booming economy or a statistically booming economy for stock markets and trading and
he's
commerce.
Yeah, dude, our president keeps bringing that shit up, like the economy and all that shit, and we're gonna be better, whatever, because he's starting to get fucking worried about, like, he knows there's he's really starting to get worried about his election.
Yeah,
dude.
Fucking A. He is. You know damn well he is. But I'm not nowhere here am I saying that we need to get the economy booming. Fuck that. Like, we need to worry about.
Dude, the
majority of the people agree that that's not that
we need to worry about more people dying, man.
Yeah.
Like, and these fuckers are still stead strong about bringing up fucking the flu and abortion and shit. Like, dude, this.
Did you ever get that info on car accidents?
I actually
in Georgia.
What? More car accidents?
Yeah, we went for it.
I was curious because I'm like, I can't believe that there was 800 cases in Georgia today or yesterday, whatever it was, and I just said I really can't believe there would be 800 like car accidents. But I guess would you count every fender bender because you're counting cases? Right. So I guess you got
fatality, isn't it?
I don't know. I can find.
There wasn't 800 fatalities.
There is more car accidents. There's about an average of 1,700. Hold on.
A day.
Yeah.
In Georgia?
But that counts for every single fender bender. Like, you bump somebody in the butt.
Over 70 drivers are hurt in Georgia car. But this might be
70 injuries.
So I got to find a different one. This might be just.
So that would be like documented.
Did you know they started giving away driver's licenses in Georgia?
Yeah, we mentioned that.
We did go over that.
You qualify.
We did that. 20,000 of them, Warner.
Yeah, and then we realized
seriously
the only reason they would do that is because that it's a
Wisconsin is
financial. It's got to be a
following suit either.
Where you got to go?
Either this week.
Oh, yeah, that's back up. All right, never mind.
Yeah, but where do you really got to go, man? Like
to the hairdressers, man.
Right.
Oh, that's another thing.
Right, because since they opened, their economy is flush now out there in Georgia since you can get tattoos and fucking
Well, my point with that was that the protesters aren't protesting that they want to go back to work. They're protesting that they want people to go back to work. So they're saying open up at all, but they're not.
I want to go spend my stimulus.
Yeah, I want to go get my hair done, which means I want you to do work for me. And maybe that person wants to do the work, but Josh brought up a good point.
I brought up a great point.
Why not go door to door?
Why
go take door-to-door calls or go see them, and you're
they're doing it.
Right? Why can't they do that? What's wrong with...
Well, would that be... No, I mean, it seems to me that...
Because they don't get voice their concern. You know what I mean?
What'd you do, go in a tunnel, Warner?
He dropped into the tunnel.
He did.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. You're back.
All right. You lost service. We didn't know if you were driving into a tunnel or something.
No tunnels around here.
Oh. No, you just turned to gibberish for a moment.
Yeah.
You sounded
Georgia. I was doing my best Georgia.
You sounded like JB for a minute.
Hey, I watched a podcast where where Josh was fucking Southern for like an hour and a half.
Oh my God.
Really?
He loves. I don't even.
Yeah.
Man, I'm gonna say it, but when he says it's gonna freaking blow my eardrum out. Kaylee.
Hey, Kaylee.
I caught him that time. I turned it
Kaylee.
down.
He's doing it. I can hear him.
Kaylee.
Through the walls.
Yeah.
Carol Baskin.
Carol Baskin. That bitch.
Shit.
Baskin.
Great. You mean Baskin Hornets?
We getting the Baskin bees or what?
Yeah.
Fucking Kaylee.
Yo, so I did tap into. I was so excited that
what was
magically.
His name? Oh,
somebody Gabe must have logged into HBO on my One TV. You know. Because I don't have HBO, but I've been really missing out.
Yeah,
on,
what was he watching? Like late nights with Cherie?
They just dropped this new series, the latest
Tongue to Bung,
or the latest season of Westworld, right?
Oh. That's what I'm saying, man. I was joking around about it. I love that show.
So I finally got to start season 3 because I've seen the other two.
Hey, don't spoil it. I've only seen
I won't.
one episode.
You won't.
No, so I guess so. What I just wanted to say was I'll just
Ed
give you.
Harris again?
Ed Harris is a big part of it. Yeah.
All right.
It definitely the first
sure I was
2 seasons.
I've never. I saw the 10.
Oh yeah, killer. Actually,
clip.
it's a killer cast. Excellent writing.
Oh yeah.
Our buddy Anthony Hopkins too. He's like the one of the main guys.
He was in a couple good movies.
Yeah,
man.
both those guys are like
Handful
main actors.
Of good movies.
But yeah, man, it's just a really cool storyline about basically a future world of we get to the advanced life of being able to create artificial intelligent beings, and then actually creating like a society that creates a they obviously the world I imagine started out with robots serving and the standard little things that would little
wasn't that like
an
80s movie
like R2D2 shit type, but like the way they sell this one is that you go to these parks and you're basically able to enter any storyline you wish to and live that life. So whether it's like the Oregon Trail or whether it's the Wild West in general or whether you want to
Josh died of dysentery.
Yeah, so you get to just go there and there's all these people, and you can, you can basically just do anything you want. So one of the things, you learn right away is you can like murder people and you can kill people and you can, can live like any
children's movie,
like the movies.
Yeah, you can live a movie life, whatever you want, or you can just be the gambler, and it just is so it's called Westworld because the show kicks off as like that's the world, and when you're first watching it, you think you're just watching a Western movie. And then you slowly realize that like, whoa, this is this is like this is a futuristic setup.
Oh, boy.
And they it all kind of starts to get explained, and then it just gets super deep. And but the biggest but a big thing about about messing like basically the creator of these things wants to like bring them back, like wants to give them like what is it? It like really breaks down the barrier of what is life, like what is it to live, and what is it to like what's the difference between organic human and a computer that's created to think it's a human and to have similar emotions and choices. And
I don't know.
Yeah, or to realize that being a human doesn't make you any more of a being than being an artificial intelligence.
Right, where they start to realize that
you don't have to be human.
They start to realize that.
I don't know if that's part of Westworld or not. But.
So it's crazy because the Westworld, all these robots, they think they're real people, and they think they're really living their life, but every day, like at the end of the day, maybe there's a massacre, and like the end of the storyline is that the bad guys come through and they kill everybody. So then they haul all these bodies into the and have to do all the makeup on them.
Sounds like a great
show. Stitch them up, repair them, make them like it never happened, erase their memories, put them in their beds, and then start it over again the next day. And then they wake up the next day, have no memory except for the memories that were, put in there. So it's just
like Men in Black.
Intense because it's basically it's like they
when they
become
hit you with the light.
They become awake, and like once they do, they wreak some havoc, and it's just just getting built up. So it's kind of cool how third season it's nowhere near where it was in the first season.
Sounds
so it's
like
just,
a thriller, Ange.
It's intense, man. It's one of the new great series that's going on right now, I think.
Right.
Personally.
Have you seen Leftovers?
I love how Josh everything he says tries to lead into me shutting the fuck up.
Yeah, isn't that weird?
All right, moving on.
Isn't that a weird personality to have on a podcast where you only have words? And he doesn't have anything to say if you don't say something first.
Yeah, like and some I don't believe it or not, I don't always just when I do get talking, I'll just run whatever comes off my head. But to get talking, I have to think about what I want to say first. So
yeah, if you say here's something interesting. Oh boy,
right.
There's interest, folks.
Yes, this is the segment where we're gonna break down how Josh is always a jerk to us when we try to tell our stories.
Well, you got to have that balance on the show. We got to have that, right?
Yeah, you got to have the guy that talks and the guy that tries to keep you from talking. Shit. But have you seen The Leftovers?
Oh, this.
Oh yeah. Yep, that's another good one. Except for I feel like that one got a little muddied up at the end.
What?
Yeah, I've only seen season 1.
Where's this on?
Yeah, season 1 is phenomenal.
Who's
that's
in
another?
this?
That's
What's
another
this?
HBO.
Oh.
Leftovers. So that one's pretty cool because all of a sudden.
Who's in it?
You wouldn't really know anybody.
Well, I mean,
but it's good.
I know
it's actually the dude that married that Jen Aniston before, and then they split
Brad
up.
Pitt?
Before though. They split up like a year, after they got together or something. I remember noticing that. I was like, oh, dude, made a good series. Got himself some Jennifer Aniston.
Yeah, she's old.
Because the dude's
cool.
the lead actor in that.
Leftovers,
movie,
huh?
In The Leftovers, but
I'll have to Google it.
Well, The Leftovers is just the quick theme on that one is that basically like this moment happens where whatever the number
2%.
was, 2% of the Earth's population just disappeared. Like literally, like in
cars driving down the street.
Yeah,
all
cars
of a sudden
down
didn't have a driver.
Didn't have a driver, but maybe the passenger was still there. Or like in one case, so then it breaks down all the stories of every individual that went through this, because then it kind of fast forwards 5 years, and these people are like living with what the hell happened to all these people. They just literally disappeared. So like in one case,
wild, man.
In one case, a wife is like serving dinner and turns around to the sink, and when she turns around, her kids and her husband are just gone.
Right, they
peeled
out.
What happened? In another case, so
I love
it kind of breaks down this crazy story of
Laura
like trying so instantly the world knows that something fucked up just happened. Nobody can explain it. There's no scientist or specialist or anybody to explain this
and it's good people and bad people.
Yeah, good people, bad
heroes
people.
And murderers, children. It's all like this. So it's not
completely random. Yeah, completely
it's
random.
not like religious.
Oh.
Good show, man.
Yeah, it was cool. Or I don't know where if it kept going or if it was just 2 seasons or what. But
3, right? 3,
was it 3? Then yeah, maybe I didn't catch the
14.
Actual conclusion.
Well, I remember 17. John Oliver made a reference to it.
Oh.
And he's like, someone's scoffing it. The death rate's only 2%. He's like, that's basically the premise of HBO's The Leftovers.
Right. You lose 2% of the people, and what that does to everybody, because everybody's affected. Some people are going to lose more. Some people are going to be like, yeah, I lost my mom, my dad, and
you guys didn't tell me old
cousin,
Liv Taylor's in it, or Tyler Taylor. Jesus.
Oh yeah.
Old Liv's in
that's one of the sickest things is there's these people that I would sum them up as like the conspiracy theorists or the people that believe it's like the plandemic. And they become
Scott Glenn's
they become like these people that just smoke cigarettes and dress in all white, and they kind of like protest and cause disruption everywhere.
And they seem like they know something that we don't.
And they act like they know something. And like I said, they're just all their thing is that they're not allowed to talk. They're not allowed to speak, so they have to make a vow to not speak wear white, participate,
and smoke cigarettes,
and participate in the destruction
this is like
that they
you
caused.
said people were disappearing and shit. So is this like kind of like or like?
No, it wasn't like people were disappearing like one at a time. It was one moment happened, 2% of the world was gone.
So is it like a sci-fi type deal? Like that
I mean,
it is.
Obviously,
right.
it's
well, no, I don't fucking know. That's what I'm asking.
It's sci-fi.
Right. Yeah, it's science fiction.
So it's fair to say that you two are into sci-fi, pretty good into.
Oh, it's science fiction all the way, man.
Yeah, I mean the
last one you were talking about, the last show you were talking about is pretty much.
It's almost like a I guess it would be science fiction, but I wouldn't call myself I'm not really like a Star Wars.
No,
that's science fiction doesn't. It's not just there's fiction, but what fiction means is it's still bound by the laws of reality, but it's not a real story.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But this is not bound. There's no. That's the crazy part. And here's what I'll have to. Here's what I say.
I don't know why the word isn't coming to me, but I wouldn't really describe I don't like to think of Stephen King as science fiction. So
science fiction was so pigeonholed because you think there needs to be laser beams and robots. But all it means is that the laws that govern our world do not apply to this story, that anything could happen. And that's what's beautiful about The Leftovers is right out of the gate. It's like a girl complaining to her boyfriend in the grocery store, puts her kid on top of the car, goes and sets up the seatbelt, and then she looks up and she's like, Jamie? And then cars crash, people are screaming, people, and it all of a sudden, just like that, in the blink of an eye, all these people disappear. That's how they start. But then the rest of the show is completely regular. Like nothing else weird happens other than people's reactions. But it sets the premise for anything can happen. Anything is possible. So as shit starts to happen,
everybody knows that. So it's in the same thing that we were talking about the Bob.
It opens your brain, man.
Like when I was bringing up the Bob Lazar and his thing about the spaceships and working on them, and it was the reason why he found it important enough that he wanted the world to know was because that was like a leftovers moment. That was a moment in society where the president could have come on, that was Reagan at the time, and said, yes, ladies and gentlemen, we have made contact with alien spacecraft. We don't know if they're ever going to return, but there were 6 ships that crashed this place, or we shot down these, whatever the case was. And, that would have been a moment in time where we didn't sit there and wonder and question.
Like Stevie.
We instantly knew we weren't alone. I mean, what kind of advancement to space and to, contact would have come after that, like all those things. So like you're saying, it's that instant moment where you're like, wait a minute, 2% of the people just disappeared. That's not explainable in any capacity. So that something's going on. There's a God. Biblical. Maybe you definitely know there's a God. You definitely know that something's controlling. Maybe you say to yourself, you're in a simulation, and you instantly say, this is just a simulation. And
there.
And that's how that would happen. How else could you explain that?
I don't know.
No shit.
There was no remains, so it's just they just went in there and said, right click, delete, whatever.
Yep. Up and disappeared like a fart in the wind.
Take out everybody with who knows.
Shawshank Redemption, in case you guys didn't know.
That was a pretty good. I actually like that particular film.
That's my favorite movie, man.
Oh, well.
It's a great one.
How do you like it now, Josh?
I like it still.
Now that the normies, I'm gonna start wearing a chain on my wallet.
Tell me, Josh, what you liked about Shawshank, because
well, I like that they get away and then they meet up with each other.
You liked specifically the way that the layout, layout of.
Am I in the right movie?
Yeah, the layout. Right. Well, he had to crawl through the shit.
Well, yeah, I obviously remember that, but
yeah, he likes that.
I mean, you had to get away somehow. I like that it took him a while. I like it a lot. I like it. It's a good story. He was a smart guy. Another smart guy. What was? He's in there. He knew how to take advantage of someone. Literally, he did.
So did you know that's a Stephen King short story?
Is it really?
Yeah, sure.
Shawshank?
Yep.
Were you setting him up?
I was totally setting him up on. No, I was totally setting him up because I asked him, like, me personally, what I think makes that movie phenomenal is, you know, the layout of the characters, the build of the characters, whether it was the Morgan Freeman character, whether it was you know, the Tim Robbins character.
Well, now we're getting a little
whether
deep.
It was the warden, whether it was, you know, the old man that killed himself when he got out. You know, those are elements that make an amazing, like, that made me fall in love with the writing of, like, Stephen King. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that you know, another one was the Green Mile. You know, that you didn't like, that people. I mean, obviously that one's more of the science fiction, but yeah, but it was you know, not everybody knew. It wasn't openly like, hey, this is a Stephen King, and selling it as Stephen King, like It or Carrie or, you know.
I didn't know it was Stephen King.
So wait a second. Stephen King's book is Rita Hayworth and Shawshank. Well, that's just
Rita Hayworth, because Rita Hayworth was the poster that he had hanging up over the hole.
Right.
You see all those things,
though. The rock
so that's obviously a fictional story from the mind of Stephen King. Like, he laid out everything, the way that he set up that warden, the way that he convinced the audience, us and the viewers, that maybe he did do it. Maybe he did kill his wife that night.
Right.
Right? He had the gun. He was sitting there. He was smoking you know, like, all these different aspects of the story that, you know, and to me, that's the brilliant mind of Stephen King. Like, you're looking at it like that's the brilliant mind of that character in the movie, but the character in the movie was written by, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
He was able to make us just hate that fucking warden. Remember? We hated that guy. We loved it the moment when he got stuck, or, like, you know, any of them. Even the way that the prison guards, and, like, I don't know, man. And that's, like, to me, that's like a you know, that's Stephen King all day. So anybody that just, like, breaks him down and says, oh, I don't like scary stuff, or I don't like, you know, oh, I don't like ghost movies, or whatever the story, you know, like, whatever they want to say about it. It's like, it doesn't matter which one it is. Even Carrie, his first big hit, that was really about the characters and the real, you know, being able to, you know, tell that story.
So you read the book too?
Yeah. Which one? Just like
Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah, it's a short story. It's just like it's not even very long.
Huh.
See, what I liked about Shawshank.
Yeah, you got way into it.
I knew you were going to ask me, so I'll just jump to it.
Yeah,
is the fact that he is you know, he doesn't belong in prison, right? Andy Dufresne doesn't belong in prison, and you're pretty sure, you know, like, he didn't do it, and if he did do it, you know, he just made a bad snap decision to kill his wife and her lover, and now he's fucking shit out of luck in a world that he doesn't understand and he can't navigate. He's not cut out for it. And, you know, like, with his run-ins with the sisters and all that shit, he is just out of his element. And people try to tell him, you know, even when Morgan Freeman is like, you know, give up on hope and everything like that, it's a scary thing. And, you know, you got to realize that these walls are forever. And you believe it as a listener. You believe it. You know Andy Dufresne isn't cut out for it. And, like, what you're saying is, like, they make you hate the warden, but then they play tricks on you. You're supposed to hate Hadlin, the security, or the head dude who he you know, when he first started doing the tax write-offs and all that shit.
You guys get real.
You know, he's a bad guy. But then he breaks the legs of the dude that was fucking with Andy Dufresne, you know, fucked him up so he couldn't walk anymore. So it almost makes him kind of a good guy, but he's still a bad guy. So you don't know where to land. But here's my thing, is that you're so convinced, and everyone's trying to convince Andy, like, no, Andy, this is how you do things here. And Andy was like, no, man, you know, and he's like, that's not, you know, and you are faced with that in life all the time. People are like, look, man, this is how it goes. You know what I mean? This is what you do. This is what you're supposed to do. And here's how to do it. Here's the formula. And, you know, get a job with a pension and live your life and do what you're told, and just listen to the people that have done it before you. Because trust me, you know, like, you're not cut out for this. And you know, the only way you're going to survive is X, Y, and Z. And Andy Dufresne constantly proves them wrong. And you think that he's reached his limit when he does everything he does in the prison by, like the library and everything like that. And you think that that's the success story, but even then you can't help it. He gets too sad and he kills himself.
You
in
guys
prison,
get a little more
like,
into it than me.
I'm just saying it's my favorite movie. But even though your success and your drive and your determination and your unwillingness to accept the status quo and what is possible in the world has limitations, and those limitations are reached when Andy Dufresne hangs himself in his cell with the rope he got from the dude, and you're worried about it, and then when he doesn't come out of his cell, you're like, damn it, man. And it is the type of story that would end that way, a sad ending.
The movie for me.
And then you realize that he defied all odds. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you're convinced that there was a success story, but even success doesn't work in prison. He's still going to be in prison, for the rest of his life, and that's it. You know what I mean? So even if you think you got the key and you think you're doing it, you're still part of the system, and you can't break the system. And not only does he break the system, but he breaks it and turns around and pisses in its mouth. It's I don't know why I came up with that analogy.
He fucked him so bad.
Oh man, and you didn't expect it would feel that good. And then so he turns the prison on its head, and that whole thing happens, and then you're like, well, that's that happy ending. But it continues, and it ends up with Morgan Freeman meeting him on the beach.
Yeah, left of the rock.
My favorite part of the whole movie.
And it's kind of like, if you're going to make it cliche after school special, it is don't let anyone tell you, because that dude who's walking on the beach was the dude that it was convincing Andy to give up, give up on hope, and just keep your head down, and
smiles even.
Yeah,
that's why you picture it right now as that guy with Morgan Freeman, the smile, and just the way that it really happened. Like, this is really like life wasn't over. Yeah, and then you got the flip side
that's my favorite part, man, is don't let anyone tell you what you can do or what's possible, or because it's even if you
man, I've seen that movie
because what if you would have listened? What if you would have listened to any one of those fucking people? So that's my
take all that from it. Holy.
So do you know?
I couldn't hear Josh that whole time, but I know he was cut. He was
whisper voicing because we had him mesmerized with the movie. He was getting deep.
I've seen the movie a couple times.
Good thing he's got his sunglasses on because he might be tearing up.
Yeah, I've seen
the
movie a couple times or a few. Yeah, I don't ever watch movies a few times, but I like that one a lot. But I don't get as deep as you do in the movie. I don't get as deep, evidently, as
you don't get inspired. Well, see, it's for me, it's the.
But I really like the movie though, because I like I said, I don't ever watch movies more than once, but I have seen that one a bunch of times, a handful.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's
one of the greatest stories it's one of the greatest stories of the hope and the possibilities that anything's possible.
I mean, I guess like I was saying the whole time you were talking, Warner, the escape is like
way to listen.
Well, no, I did listen, but I kept
you listen with your mouth.
Yeah, the escape to me is like it's a great part of the movie for me. Like, I know that it's not the whole movie, but
it is, man. Without
him planning the whole escape. Yeah, exactly. Like him
and the way they didn't tell it till after. Like it was a post
is great to me. And the crawling through the shit. The shit's good. You got to, hey man, you can't just have an easy
and they changed.
Escape.
If you look at the original movie poster for Shawshank Redemption, it was not Andy Dufresne standing in the rain.
Right.
In his prison suit.
He was in poop.
It was him crouched down talking to Morgan Freeman.
Right.
In the yard.
I guess I've never seen the poster.
Oh yeah.
So they don't give it up that he's out. But now the poster, the movie poster of Shawshank it's one of a variant posters.
Do you have them both?
It's
or just one of them?
No, I don't. I didn't get the.
Well, I'm gonna have JB for your birthday. I'm gonna have him print 2 of them for you, one of each.
They have there's a.
He can do it. I'm gonna get him a shitty photo too.
Do you know, Ryan?
All pixelated.
Yeah.
Do you know the history of the Green Mile? How that one came to be?
Nope.
Well, the Green Mile was a project.
Is this the movie with Clooney?
No, this is the one with Tom Hanks.
Oh.
Death Row.
Death Row inmate.
Right.
John Coffey.
He sucks the shit out of the mouth?
Yeah. So listen.
Tom Hanks is in there?
Yeah, 2 Girls, 1 Cup. Josh, that's what you're talking about. Different movie.
Yeah. But that's shitty.
Different
man.
movie.
Yeah. So but the cool history of that one is that Stephen King wanted to bring back the old time where they would release like a part of a story like every month in like the reading.
Oh,
like
radio shows, man.
Not radio shows, but they were like books that only came out with a part of the story like per month. So you had to wait for the next month's issue.
You're gonna have to wait
to read the next chapter. So he broke that Green Mile story down into like 6 parts or whatever, and released them, as individual stories in until till he completed it, and it was pretty cool. Like so that one, like that was the story that got me to fall in love with audiobooks, especially when I was doing a lot of traveling from telecom and solo traveling. Oh, yeah. Driving by myself, man. Like, so, and, I had tape deck at the time, and I remember being at Barnes & Noble, and I saw them on the discount rack for like $2 each.
Bottom.
And they had the original art cover. It wasn't like the movie title cover of like you'd see on the book now. It's the same as the Tom Hanks, movie, so you see.
Yeah, it looks like it's like
so
enhanced
it was,
colorized.
I watched that movie a couple times, and my dumb ass didn't even
photo.
remember that fucking Tom Hanks was in it.
Yeah, and then
that's how fucking.
And so it was just really cool. So the tapes were the same way. So there was like
no Tom Hanks.
There was each tapes were the chapter, and I was only able to get some of them, and then I had to I went to like the library to try to get like other ones and like order them because I was like missing, but that was like just a amazing story. And
Two
like
dicks, one
the Stephen King, when he does his audiobooks, he doesn't like to release abridged, shortened versions of his books.
Does he do the
there
voice?
Isn't like a shortened version of the Green Mile
does he do the
on
voice
audio,
on the audiobook?
No. In fact, that's a whole nother story, man.
All right, we'll wait. We'll wait for that.
But so they release, and the guy, dude, since you mentioned it, the whole tape is done. Audiobook is performed,
by
the voice by a guy named Frank Muller.
Ooh.
All right, Frank Muller, and the way that Stephen King would identify him is that Frank Muller is the guy that can describe the voices in my head. Ooh. And this dude had like the best voice. And what's crazy is he got into a motorcycle accident maybe in like early 2000s.
Right.
And he was unable to speak anymore.
Motherfucker.
Man. His fucking...
What about taking your
and
career
he was the
away?
man. He was actually an actor. Frank Muller, you could look him up. He was an actor too, but
he's
he
Robert
was
Muller's brother, right?
But a voice actor. And he did all the Dark Tower audiobooks right up until
the Dark Tower?
Right up until his accident, and then all of a sudden there was a new voice, and me as a listener, all of a sudden I'm like, oh man, what happened to Frank? And then I looked it up, and I was heartbroken.
Dick in a draw,
because he was like a guy, told me so many stories, man.
Like me and Josh.
Yeah.
Storytellers.
But yeah, that was just cool because it was released as a part setup, and that's how he actually did it. And then now years later, it's the complete issue. But yeah, it's a great story.
Any other movies?
What's your favorite, Josh? What is your favorite movie?
I mean, I don't really have
other than Days of Thunder.
No, he likes Western movies.
I like Westerns a lot.
What's your favorite Western?
That's why you got to watch Westworld, bro. You got to watch Westworld.
Nah, I see. Listen, the 3 minutes that I saw of it was enough for me to say I'm cool.
Really?
I really do like Ed Harris a lot.
Josh, come on, man.
What?
3 minutes? You got to think that some people have a longer attention span
Anthony
than
Hopkins.
I saw Ed Harris shoot that pretty boy dude there from I don't know what movies he's in. He's real pretty boy.
All right, well,
black
that's
hair.
longer than 3 minutes then.
I mean, no,
he
grabbed what's her name and dragged her into the barn.
Yeah, so you watched the entire episode. 3 minutes.
No, I watched 3 minutes of it. I'm telling you. When I turned it on,
you watched it fast forward.
When I turned it on, he was shooting the dude, and then he was dragging the girl.
Oh, okay. So you didn't even get the opening. You didn't get it.
I just told you.
Right.
I watched 3 minutes.
So if you watch the opening,
how did that was supposed to get you? If you didn't get hooked by that, then yes, you don't
especially since that was the Western shootout. You don't even know what led to the Alamo. Like the whole shootout.
I've seen the fucking Alamo, motherfucker.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you just turned it on for the shootout, you'd be like, "Well, what led to all this?"
No, it wasn't even a good shootout. It was. Dude, he shot the one guy and he was shooting them, loaded them full of bullets, and he didn't even, nothing. Wasn't bleeding, nothing.
No, because...
Yeah, that's too much for me.
That's where you didn't get it. Because if you watched the thing, you would have understood...
I do get it.
That the guy...
I get that that's too far-fetched. When you get shot, you should die in the movies I watch.
Except for
Jesus Christ, Josh,
you missed the whole thing.
Or be hurt.
He was an artificial.
You're gonna give spoilers out. Josh doesn't deserve it. He doesn't deserve you to.
I already gave the spoiler.
No, you didn't tell what happened. Oh wait, I held the phone away. I was afraid.
I didn't give the spoiler other than that I already said that there were people in this story that were robots.
Right, but you didn't say which. Yeah.
Well, I mean that's kind of obvious.
So without saying
shot
anything,
with a bullet, and
the artificial intelligence, the people that don't know that they're fake people, they can't hurt real people. They can't shoot you. The guns don't fire at real people. They're not. They don't work.
So it's like a video game, Josh. You can go in and shoot everyone, and they shoot back at you, but just like the Westerns, you're like, oh, they can't hit me, man. I just poo,
So so you do it for fun. You don't want to get shot. You don't want to get the rubber bullet, or is that what it is?
Sounds like
because it does get. I think you do get something hits him. Maybe I couldn't remember.
Nothing.
No, nothing, and nothing happens. Yeah.
Huh.
So
yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah. Wow.
But that is funny that you turned it on for one part, and you did see Ed Harris.
I
did.
Didn't know, fucking ain't. I saw that pretty boy. I don't know his name. He's in all kinds of... He's real good.
Hey, he's in my other favorite movie. He's in my second favorite movie, The Notebook.
Oh.
Yes, right?
I love The Notebook, man. Every time it comes on TBS, man, I cancel my plans.
Shut the fuck up.
Is that with...
I'm not kidding.
It is a beautiful story, but you don't... It's like not one that you have to watch like 100 times.
Is that Ryan Gosling?
Yeah, dude, the writing, man,
is that
the guy,
Gosling?
how he talks, James Garner, I think is...
Yeah, at the end, James. Yeah, that's a good movie.
He's cool, man.
And then it's the flip thing. It wasn't like the...
Yeah, he's crazy.
It wasn't like the exciting fun guy.
Oh yeah.
Right?
See, but what I like about
the exciting fun guy. It was like the
guy telling the story.
The guy that was like gonna be there.
He's fucking.
Yeah. What I like. No. That's not it. Not that he's exciting and fun, because Noah was totally exciting and fun too. The Notebook was one of the first movies that us as the audience, like we watched. Normally, when it's a love triangle, and Josh, what that means is not what you think. It means a girl or a guy is having a difficult choosing between one or the other.
Right. Josh that's
not that first cousin cuddle puddle that you're thinking about.
Right. The love triangle. She got lost in the triangle.
But what's neat about The Notebook is both of them, like Jan or what's his name?
Who the
Lon
fuck
Hammond,
is Jan?
right? Lon Hammond is the other guy, and Noah is the Ryan Gosling, my boy Ryan Gosling. But what's supposed to happen, like it's happened in every other movie,
dudes, right?
Is us as the audience is supposed to see that Lon is actually a piece of shit, but the girl doesn't notice it, and she sleeps on. So she thinks that he's a great guy, but he's really not, because we would see Lon like cheat on her or say something bad about her or do something, but he is solid. He's a solid dude. Even when she comes back and she's like, hey, listen, I know I'm wearing your engagement ring, but I lost my virginity this weekend.
Got plugged.
To somebody else. And he's like, I love you, man. Doesn't matter. Yeah. And it's like the decision is really hard. That's what I respect about the movie, because it's not every other movie. The audience knows something that she doesn't. That
I thought
Lon's
it was
actually
good because
a
the guy was
shitty person.
Because they were losing their mind and they were telling. So I thought it was good, but.
Right.
Seriously, right?
I guess I might only seen that one once, but I thought that at the end, thought at the end.
Tell me.
I thought at the end it ended up being the guy that we didn't think it would have been.
No.
Right.
What do you mean, James?
Right.
Is
that what happened?
Going to be in a...
Yeah. No. It
No.
makes you think that because everything pointed towards because Lana wasn't a piece of shit. He was just he was a solid dude, and it's like she really did love both of them. It was a legit love triangle, but
she was a whole.
Underdogs, man. Underdogs, bro.
Yeah. Hey, man, you win some, you lose some.
But the underdog ended up being the rich guy, right?
What?
No. The underdog won.
What movie did you watch?
That's what I'm saying. I guess I just mixed it up.
Oh, man. James Gardner was fucking Gosling.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the part I didn't get.
Who was it?
He looked more like the other guy.
Oh. Well, I mean, he aged a bunch, Angelo.
Yeah. Fundamentally.
She put on a bunch of weight.
Smoking
Allie,
cigarettes and sucking dick.
Jesus.
Sucking dick.
This
podcast took a turn.
Yeah, it did.
We turned it into
So you're, I mean,
a romantic movie.
Romantic.
I know you're.
Just tell me, is Stacy standing behind you?
You're a man of top 5, Warner. So that's like, so those are 2 of your top movies. Because I'm not like, I mean, I like all. I mean, I'm not gonna say that. I don't like all kinds. I like a bunch of things. Not all kinds.
Yeah, you do.
I do like older movies. I like some newer movies.
I'll tell you what, man.
Tell me, Angelo.
I still say it again that one, the one with James Franco. I think that was the best acting I've ever seen him do. Was in the
24 hours.
11:20
or 72 hours where he cuts his arm off. I know I said that last time.
11:22.
Turn my mic off?
63 or whatever. No, I didn't turn your mic off.
Oh.
Jesus.
Well, I can't hear my. All of a sudden,
he starts fucking banging on the mic.
All of a sudden, I can't hear myself out here.
Well, that's what he sees. That's what he sees happen in his laptop movies. He's gonna start banging it on his chin to get it to work. He's gonna stick his tongue out,
I'm
banging
serious.
on it a couple times.
You can't hear yourself right now?
Okay. Yo.
Well, we can hear you, so. I think
Josh, you squeezing it too tight?
I think I do have. I am squeezing the tip.
We did get some new headphones in.
Ryan,
he got a couple deal of the days.
Oh, he splurged for
some
us.
Geminis.
Yeah. Ooh. That's for my birthday. I'm a Gemini, motherfucker.
They're not like anything huge, but
huge.
I needed some new sets anyway for the guests too, because we were struggling with some of the cheesy stuff we had.
The juggler was struggling.
Yeah, I always end up coming in last and getting the ones that only have one ear that work.
Well, not anymore, motherfucker.
Well, now we're better. We got
now
4.
Now you could take 2 pairs that only have one ear and then make 1 pair.
Yeah.
Jesus, like Josh's sunglasses.
Yeah. Hey, mother. Hey.
Hey, mother. Hey.
But I plugged mine in.
I wear
a
lot of styles of sunglasses, Warner. I do not just pigeon to one. I got a plethora of them, all different styles. I go from the 70s to 99 with my sunglasses.
The 70s? You don't have any from the 70s.
Yeah, I do. Come on now. They were wearing those aviators in the 70s.
That's the 80s.
But they were still wearing them in the 70s just because Chip and what's his name made him popular in the 80s. Cool. What was his name? Chip. What was it? Oh, Chips. There it was.
That's the 80s.
Sometimes,
but I'm saying he made
things get distorted when they come back. Like they try to do the replica.
Right.
But you kind of realize that
Right, when they do a redo.
Yeah.
And they fuck it all up.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Tell me.
In 98, my senior prom.
Oh, what was his name?
Here we go. Hold on, let me take this shot. Let me throw this back real quick.
Did he have short hair or did he have?
I had super short hair, but if you think about 99 is when if you wanted new edgy glasses, it was the Oakley Frog glasses.
Jesus, you know I did not have that.
The first one that were rounded, like you had kind of thing.
Yeah, not the. I had the fucking sleek one.
Right, yeah, they were sleek profile. So what was not cool?
I didn't have the frog skins.
Aviators. Right. Aviators were kind of lame in the 90s because they were cool in the 80s. And they were cool for like leather jacket, not black leather jacket, like brown leather jacket.
Right,
like
with the fringes.
Right.
Maybe not.
Like Top Gun.
Yeah.
Okay? Top Gun.
That wasn't cool.
The movie
in your top 5,
was
right?
no longer cool.
Warner?
In 98.
That's in your top 5 movies?
You know the
Top Gun?
Man. Soundtrack, maybe. Soundtrack.
Oh, dude, that guy, Kenny Loggins?
Take My Breath Away one. That's
but Kenny Loggins, right? He's on that soundtrack, right? Top song, right? He's the soundtrack king, right? Kenny Loggins? Footloose and all that?
Oh, no? Sounds about right.
Oh. He's like
Anyway, I wore aviators because I had a white tux, and it just seemed right. And
all the dudes.
I thought I was the coolest one in the world, and I was like, not picked on. No one picked on me.
Really?
But people were like, oh, whatever, because the glasses were, they were my dad's, and my dad was telling me, he's like, oh, these glasses are cool, and they were Ray-Ban aviators, the kinds that curled around your ears.
Right.
And it made you
so
look
when
like
you're
you had
blowing
little
somebody,
not
they
pearl
didn't fall
earrings,
off.
but they'd make it look like you had earrings because
Right.
they curled and poked out the bottom.
Yeah, you wouldn't lose them if you were cupping someone's
But,
balls.
So I had pictures in it, but now when I look at the pictures, it just looks just stone cold, like cool. I was cool. I was Mr. Cool Guy. Like I was trying to be Mr. Cool Guy.
Right.
Like I was doing what everyone else was doing.
Right.
And it's like, no, man. So I have to, not that I want to explain it to people, or not that I do.
Yeah,
I want to.
You want to. I know.
But I'm doing it here on the podcast. I'm like,
right.
no. But you don't understand. I was edgy and different, but now it just looks like I was a follower. But.
Well, what were you?
Well, you know me, bro.
I do.
You know me, bro.
You were top
remember me
notch.
from the Bosie's Bridge? You remember me.
Top notch. Yeah, I jumped off that fucker nude before.
Hmm.
Yeah, I didn't give a fuck. Balls to the wall. But yeah.
Yeah, buddy.
Where
do we go from here, man?
On a sour note. Yeah, I jumped off that motherfucker one time. Well, not once, but one of the times I jumped off that, and I got up and I came up from being underneath it, and a fucking water moccasin was coming across like towards me. Holy shit. I mean,
yeah.
I was a pretty good swimmer, but I swam. Yeah, I was like, fuck that shit. I'm not really
a good swimmer at 6'3", and you weighed 85 pounds.
Dude, I was a pretty good swimmer, dude.
I don't doubt it.
I wasn't in any swim meets.
Yeah, I think you might. That might be. I was warned about water moccasins and snapping turtles.
Yeah. We
Luckily,
probably warned you. We fucking jumped off that fucker and then yeah. Yeah, let me tell you what. Whew. Yeah.
Yeah, they were good times, man. No one does that anymore.
Right.
And you ever go up there, Bosie's Bridge?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did.
The coolest, the most fun close one was that Canajoharie. You can walk up a creek up there and jump off this huge one. It was so big, it was scary, and you felt like you're gonna hit the rocks, but you always cleared.
When I was like fucking 12 or 13, my dad used to live in New Hampshire back in the day in Allstead. He took my brother, me, and my mom. We went out there and we went to this place. It's called Salis, or I know I'm saying it wrong. Solace Pool or something like that. Well, they had like it was a pond type deal, but they had this huge fucking bridge, right? And I'm like, and they still would let you jump off it. And I'm like, yo, come on, let me do it. Let me try it. And they let me because my parents were whatever. They knew I'd be okay if I lived. My brother, they wouldn't let Curtis do it though. I jumped off. They would. Well, he was younger than me. He might not want to do anyways, but
old head start Curtis.
Yeah, I jumped off of that. Dude, it was like the greatest one of the. Yeah, it was fucking awesome. It was up there too, man. I don't know the exact footage, but
that
anyway.
video when
elevation.
You got third. That was classic.
What?
When you said that when you guys did the race.
Oh yeah.
Did it show Kurt breathing heavy?
Yeah.
After his head start.
And he goes, "Good job, Kurt. You got third." And there's only 3 people in the race.
Hey Josh, Kelly beat you in that race, right?
No. Nope.
Tell the truth.
No, we do the.
Because remember she didn't touch the hood. She just ran past the car.
She didn't. No, it was touch the hood. It was the first person to. If you listen, I think he says it when he's reviewing the tape. Is the first person like you had to. His things where you had to touch the rock when we went straight, and then you had to touch the big rock, and then the first person to touch the hood won the race. Those were how, because we couldn't do a straight line race with Kelly because she was too fast. No, she was Eddie knew that, and Eddie was a smart to make it fair for everybody. You had to do obstacle
she wasn't
things.
Too fast. She was faster than you.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny,
she was fast. She was fast, man.
Oh yeah, she was.
But she couldn't beat me at that particular race that day.
Yeah, because she ran past the car and forgot to touch the hood.
Well, that was that. Hey, a mental breakdown will lose you things.
Hey, rules are rules, right?
Yeah.
Holes is holes, and rules are rules.
What really cost her the race is when she went up to that big rock. She did more of a U, and I just hit it.
Wide turn.
Yeah, I just hit it and launched. Curtis, Curtis even shedded the gloves, and he still. Dude, I gotta send you. I should have sent you that video. We gotta play that fucking. We can play that video.
You got third.
Then the people would know what we're talking about.
Yeah, I was gonna say the listeners are like, what the fuck? I don't know what's going on half the time anyway, but this is a deep cut.
Yeah.
They're talking about home videos that no one's ever seen.
Oh, we got it. We'll have to Dude, we've been fucking running this one for a while.
Oh, shit.
It's fucking 6:44.
Oh, man, your belly must be screaming.
Yeah, see, I forget we're on a podcast a lot until I say something that I regret.
Oh.
Because I'm just sitting here on my phone.
Right.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
That
sucks. That's why the whole.
See, we get you
remember
two
what
together.
you loved about it is the headset, man, and you don't have the headset. And I'll tell you, it is a much.
You guys get talking, and it's like
much.
It's like don't cut the music off. It's in my ears.
Yeah.
That's like the daily thing.
Yeah, he does it on purpose now, Warner.
Now, yeah.
He'll let it keep
playing.
I don't
do it on purpose. That's what he says every time.
We had Johnny's thing today, and I put it in, and it's instantly turning on. It's just a cranking the Kubota.
Johnny's
tractor.
sitting on the fucking diesel tractor.
And he's like, "Here's my path."
Yeah.
I thought
Tell
that
him
was
the story.
a sound
Tell
effect
him the
because
story.
you were like
Fuck
essential
Angelo.
workers, and then you hear that.
He's like, "This is where I'll lose the cops."
That was it was from April 2nd, but that was the part that was funny.
This is where I'll lose the cops.
This is the part where I lose the cops, and then you're watching him go on the tractor going
He's
about
going
1
a half a mile an hour.
We ain't losing no cops. They're gonna get out and walk after you to catch
Johnny,
up.
You
were doing 8 miles an hour, sir.
Yeah.
But I imagine he meant that,
he'd be driving his sports car that he sold.
But then if his sports car is going through, so isn't the cop car.
Yeah, he sold the sports car.
Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe he said right afterwards he was just joking. So
yeah, we love Johnny. Yeah, we love Johnny.
I can't bust him too much.
Right.
But it was funny when I just thought about it.
I heard his voice and thought he was calling in.
Right.
Like,
well, he doesn't have time, Warner. He's good with excuses like you.
He's building a cabin, isn't he?
Oh yeah, he's building a cabin, but he's online fighting to the death with people on Facebook about fucking arguing with him about certain. I don't know. I mean, at all hours too. The other night, he was fucking throwing right hooks at JB on the internet. Fucking.
Wait, what was he doing?
They were throwing. They fucking hijacked Shelly's post. I don't know what time it was. I guess I read it the next day or something. But they hijacked fucking Shelly's post, and they were fucking. JB put a picture of a broken door, and then the next thing you know, him and Johnny were going back and forth oh man, and Johnny just fucking went right after him, started throwing low blows and shit. It was pretty good. I mean, it was truthful. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was truth that other people probably didn't know, but now they do.
Yeah, it shouldn't have been aired on there. It was kind of, but hey.
But. Yeah, you start poking the fucking Johnny Camp, and he gonna come out at you. He don't fuck around, man. And he's intelligent. If people don't...
You know what's funny, man, is I never knew that.
What, that he's intelligent? He really is. Like, no matter what anybody wants to say,
he is.
He's fucking intelligent, man. He is. I mean, maybe intelligent.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. The way you said it, though, no matter what anyone wants to say.
What? No, people like, I mean, people
they don't like it that he is.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not like, especially people that sleep on it, man. Like, I didn't see it coming. I just thought he was just and don't get me wrong, like, I didn't know him very well until, like, the past few years, but I just figured he was just a normal, normal dude. I didn't think, that he was, he's not like,
I don't just hang out with normal dudes.
He's smarter than I am.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying he's no fucking Einstein.
He should be the one on Facebook, but he's not. Right. You know what I mean? All these people who, were like, I skipped my senior year. And they're the doctors on Facebook now.
Right.
And those are had a head on his shoulders.
Well, they were dating their cousins and shit, and then next thing you know, now they're doctors. I mean, I don't know too many doctors that.
Well, I do notice that he's had to say to some of the people, when he brings up the, this is serious, and they're like, oh, whatever, the flu and all that, and then he's like, I usually agree with your most of what you say on here, but in this case you're wrong. But it's like obviously going towards, it's more of a he understands that he's dealing more with a political right that is disbelief and like,
Well, he's one of the smarter ones on that side.
Yeah, but he made a when he
literally.
Yeah,
I went through the when I did the Martin Luther King mural.
Oh.
I told you guys about it, but I had 3 news interviews lined up, and so I was going to be interviewed about it, and all on the same day. And,
would you like us to?
But this Antifa group came out and protested it, because I was white and I shouldn't be.
That's not your fault. That you're
right. Well, yeah, no, it's not. That's my mom's fault.
It is.
But it's it was that I had no right to be acknowledged for that kind of artwork, and it was Black History Month, and they tried to make it about Black History Month and everything like that when it was for Martin Luther King's birthday. And my stance was, well, I don't even want to talk about it now because I am not smart enough to even talk about like my own intentions, because people can twist your words around so well.
Right.
And so no matter what you say, they are going to make it into what they want it to say. And especially on the news, it's so one-sided. If they post a news thing where I'm just talking, and who knows what you're going to say during an interview, you can't retract it. You can't tell them, oh, I don't want to say that. You can't pick.
Yeah, they're going to pick what they want to put on.
Exactly. And I didn't know it. So she had me talking during my first interview, and I was saying, just a bunch of things, and nothing bad, but just why I did it, and so what do you think is important about this and that, and I'm just answering questions, and then I realized that I was saying the wrong things, or it could be misinterpreted or twisted, or if they cut a section out and whatever. So what I did is I canceled all 3 interviews, and I didn't give them a right to, or I just told them they couldn't air it, so we had to cancel everything. Because I didn't want to deal with any kind of backlash from people, saying that it was, not right for me to get recognition for anything that has something to do with Martin Luther King or Black History Month.
All right, so on that, like, no, if there was some kind of entry or contest or qualifier to do something for for Peterson's, then that's a different story. But you are the in-house guy that they hired to do the windows,
right?
That doesn't control, like, it's like they can't switch that up. Not only does he
decorate them, he washes them.
So technically,
I do the windows. It's my choice. You know what I mean? Like what the imagery I want to do, and so here's where I got new respect for Johnny Camp is. The one article I did agree to do one newspaper article, and Ashley Biviano was the reporter, and she was cool about it. She wasn't gonna, and it's in print, so it's a little different.
Right.
But she's like, I've got this, and I was just telling her, she's like, well, we need a quote from you, this and that, and I wouldn't okay any quote. She's like, can we just say this? And I was like, nope.
Fuck.
You know, like that's not, I'm not comfortable with that. And then so I just thought, that I wasn't going to be a part of that. And she's like, well, here's a quote I got from Johnny Camp. And I tell you what, it was pretty long. They only used half of it in the newspaper, but you couldn't poke a hole. You couldn't twist any of his words around.
Because he's like you. You guys do not know how similar you two are. You guys are.
Telling you, no, I ramble too much. Well, if you couldn't tell from me just explaining this.
Well, they had to cut a bunch of his. I mean.
But that's what I'm saying is he thinks ahead so many moves that he's probably like, well, I can't say this because someone will say that. He's playing like mental chess before he speaks. And then when he does say something, you can't rebuke him. That's why he ends up getting punched in the face so much.
Right.
Because he gets people to where they can't say anything anymore and they have to resort to violence.
Right.
Because he just backs them into a corner intellectually to where they got nothing and to where they're like, fuck you, and that's all they got. But I was so impressed because I tell you what, race is a touchy subject. And coming from, and he's a white guy and it's like, and I didn't even want a horse in the race. I was like, nope, I'm not saying anything. I painted the picture. I don't want my photo in the paper. I don't want anything. Like, it is what it is. And not only did he say something, but it was profoundly deep. And like, I love it, man. I framed his quote. And
nice.
Yeah, dude, it was great, man. It was one of the most impressive things that anyone said about me. Like, I don't even really deserve it. But I'm telling you what, man, not easy to do.
I missed the whole fucking... I missed it all.
You're all right.
No. We're gonna have to.
He just said that he really respected what Johnny said about it. He was so bummed that he missed. Finally,
no, it was
in the end, he really does care. That wasn't an oh boy moment. That wasn't an oh boy moment.
It's like my brother when we're getting to the good part of the show that he makes me fucking watch if I'm sitting there, and then he turns the fucking channel. I drop the fucking thing in my headphones. The battery.
I thought you were the older brother, man.
Oh, that's like Josh coming back in, and he's like, "You changed the channel," and Curtis like, "Yeah, I'm sick of watching it." And Josh is like, "Well, who to give the rose to?
Yeah,
who to give the rose to,
Bachelor
man?
Or something." I don't give a fuck what we're watching ever, but if I'm sitting there and I'm fucking around with something and I'm hearing it, and
I want to know who we gave the rose
to. Same with you. Like I obviously I got a short attention span, but I listen to everything you're saying. I really do. So like when I come unplugged.
He didn't quote the actual thing. I was thinking we should probably pull it up. I don't know where would it be.
Did Johnny get into the? So you guys did the paper interview then, or?
Oh, you missed all that. You want me?
No. I got to.
You got the.
I was already texting someone.
Oh. No, but you guys did it.
Can I put my phone on speaker while I'm with you guys, or does that create feedback?
It might create feedback for you. I don't know.
No, it's not gonna.
See if it does. It shouldn't.
No way.
But that might have been why the Facebook, all the eye things don't work or whatever. Yeah, what do you think?
I think that it's fine.
I'm fine right now.
I think we're doing good. I do think I'm getting
scrolling.
hungry now.
I'm scrolling back through.
Man,
we talk more than I thought.
Well, Jesus Christ, when you two get going.
All right, this is shameless.
No, seriously, I'm not picking on anybody this time.
No,
Josh, you ready? Josh, you got your headphones on?
Laugh.
I do.
I'm gonna try reading, Josh. I'm gonna try reading out loud.
Oh, beautiful. Take it.
Jesus Christ.
You want me to give you some background music?
Well, yeah.
Shameless self-promotion.
Yeah,
all right,
play
go
something
for it.
good.
Yeah, dude. Promote it. Plug
Ryan's
that shit.
art transcends the divisiveness of politics and controversy, tapping directly into the human spirit. His work with the community-minded people over at Peterson's Tavern exemplifies something Warner brings to every occasion: inclusion. With almost every story from every community he's worked in, the common denominator has always been bringing people together. This, coupled with Peterson's powerful revitalization of Main Street, sets the stage for these great cultural installations that accent our struggles and acknowledge our victories as mankind. That's Johnny Camp.
Yeah, he's
nice.
I don't know how long it took him to do that.
Not long. He whips them right out, man.
I mean, that's
10 minutes. He said it took him 10 minutes.
Yeah, he didn't. It's not like he sat there overnight.
Yeah, an hour probably. But
it would take me a year to write that.
Right, I would never even be able to do it.
Josh would have to learn how to hold a pencil.
Yeah, you gotta learn how to hold pencil and fucking speak a whole sentence. Complete.
It's just worried about saying the wrong thing. That's a big part of all of our lives. Like for my I just remember going to war, Iraq, not me personally, but being in the office when they declared it and everybody was like high-fiving and they're like, we're going to war, we're doing it. Iraq, we're gonna get them for 9/11, and you're going, wait a minute, and but I was a total like single minority person, and I didn't want to, sound anti-American and be accused of like being some peckerhead. So you keep your mouth shut, but then like
shut the fuck up, Angelo.
Then they came out with Facebook.
Yeah. And then
oh my God, could you imagine if that was around first?
And then he knew how to work the keyboard. Yeah, all was around back then was a messenger, right? AOL.
No, they didn't need, because it was like they were able to feed it all. Like, dude, they sold that shit like pay-per-view. They were like CNN. I mean, if you really want to go back to the original, like we've said, CNN grew to fame from covering,
Blitzer, man.
like basically from being the
what's that girl's name?
Well, think about it. O.J. Simpson, the Rodney King riots,
Yep.
And then the big, anytime there was a hurricane or a natural disaster, and then going to war and being able to watch smart bombs blow up on top of buildings, and we're like, we got them, but like I'm thinking, well, wait a minute, aren't those like buildings that like people work in, and there's like people walking around that are like us that aren't really part of that? Like, I'm not a representative.
Yeah, they're oppressed people that we're supposed to be saving from the oppressors.
Right.
But we're
Instead,
dropping
we're just
bombs.
Killing
And then you'd think, oh, well, we're telling them in advance that we're going to drop the bomb. But it's like, why would you tell them in advance?
Exactly.
Because then everybody would leave.
Yeah.
So
what the fuck?
They're not telling them in advance.
Yeah, they tell them in advance, like, watch out, we're going to bomb you if you're not careful.
Yeah, and it's like maybe you get like a week to get out of town. But who can do that? It's like anything. It's like, who can just
get on your camel and go?
I don't know. So you know what I mean? I just remember being surrounded by that same. It's like being in, and it's kind of like the same way it is, locally with like Facebook. If you look around locally, there's an abundance of outspoken Trump support in Shenango County.
Dunning-Kruger.
Just a few.
I don't want to explain what it is.
Just a few.
But it has merit.
Yeah.
Well,
so shit, boys, we better wrap this up.
Yeah, I missed my fucking. I was gonna get some.
Yeah, no
they're
kidding.
Closed. No.
Wait, you said you were gonna order some food.
Yeah, they're closed.
Oh yeah.
You took me past the point.
What are you ordering, Josh? Chinese food?
Well, I was thinking hadn't. No.
Are you fucking with me?
No, you wanted to order the wild owl.
Oh, now you're not answering me?
Ooh, that's what's up.
I wanted some veg. Now you're not answering
Wild
me?
owl, man.
You know I
you
don't
wanted
eat
some
no
veg? What?
Come on. Well, now you guys
You
are
don't
funny.
want that.
Now,
Josh don't want that.
Not right now.
now you guys are funny, huh?
Yeah.
All of a
Hey, Josh,
sudden,
I just had some today, man. It's out of your league, bro.
took you guys fucking 2 hours and 48 minutes, and now you guys got jokes.
Now I got jokes.
I've been having to carry you guys like I was a fucking Egyptian.
Yeah,
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
What
Is
the
this on?
Is
Tap,
this-
tap, tap.
Dude,
Oh,
You do it on purpose. You're doing it on purpose.
well, yeah, I come on now. I'd play my part. I
have rights.
Hell yeah. No, you.
play my part.
I love you, man.
I gotta do a few things.
I'm having a great time. 54 days.
While you guys are talking,
I
I
think
gotta
it turned-
entertain myself out here. I can only, you know what I mean? My attention span's really not. It's a hard attention span. You see me, Warner. You know. I'm
I
all
know.
over the fucking place. But I listen.
Yes,
I
he is.
can listen. But Angelo, like, he won't. If he's doing something on his computer and you're talking to him, no
He
way in
doesn't
hell.
listen.
He don't fucking listen to you.
No, that's why I try to tell you, because once I hit that button, I really try
like
to
you'll
enter,
be in there doing something, and I'll be talking away, and I'll finally put a fucking sentence together and a whole paragraph, and then all of a sudden I got 3 paragraphs, and then he didn't hear any of it. And then I'm like, oh no, I can't repeat any of that. There ain't no way my brain can make that back up. No way in hell.
Yeah.
Nope.
I try not to talk to him until we go on the show, because we'll just get talking before the show.
Remember when we were doing that back when we could sit on the same couch together? We'd get into it deep. And it's like, hey, how about we roll? How about we roll the cameras?
Yeah. You know, you guys, we'd be out here ready. Johnny and I'd be on the couch. You two be in the control room. Yipping.
Yep.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
But there is a level of for a while once the camera turns on, and I think that comes from like a smaller community and being like the opposition within. Like I said, I feel like sometimes I'm like swimming in red, like I'm swimming around in this like super red, super
that time of the month,
super Trump, and even like when I went for a little while being outspoken, support of Bernie. It was almost like I put a tag on myself to where now people could be like, oh, there's that Bernie guy.
That's why I'm like, fuck them all.
Like, right.
Yeah,
They're
so then that's what I mean.
up.
Then but it takes it to the place where it's like, if that's what your life is, then it's not worth it anyway. So it's like to me, if that's going to define something, like even those same people that I think
after
are
both sides,
ridiculous Trump lovers, I'm also
kick them in the dick.
I also like I like them. They're people I grew up with. They're my friends. They're
I like Trump people.
But I just think that we don't. In the end, we're not going to determine anything. All we can do is throw support and then let somebody figure it out. We'll see where it all goes.
Quit choking Packer.
And it doesn't matter in the end. It's all it's hopeless.
It's
that
all
whole thing.
good in
and
Norwich.
The sooner we realize that everything is hopeless, then we can move on.
So that's what on that note, what I was saying earlier about the only thing I know is that I know nothing.
Right.
That's what I apply to
that song.
Conspiracy theories and politics and all that shit. And the only exception is the one thing I do know is that you can treat people in your community better than you do. You know what I mean? Don't try to pigeonhole them for your political benefit.
Right.
Be like, oh, you're a Bernie guy, so I'm going to accuse you of all the things I accuse Bernie supporters of.
Right.
You know what I mean? But the only thing you can do is know, are you being a good person to the people that you live with in your community?
Yeah, we love Johnny, and he's a Trumper. But
I don't know.
What do you mean?
I don't think.
You don't love him?
I think if he was in true conviction of Trump and his
but
policies,
he's smart. No, he's
then he
smart,
would be
though.
more outspoken.
He's not a Trumper.
No, he's not a Trumper. He's just not. He's like
He's on that side. He's just a smart person.
He's got to define himself, but he's a smart guy, without a doubt.
He's a smart person about it. He didn't drink the Kool-Aid, but he still likes the guy.
It's like we all say, when you're sitting around and you listen to things people say, he can only spin it so much before he's just like, this guy's a fucking idiot. If he just wasn't an idiot, then,
Are you listening to your wife, Warner?
Yep. Yeah, my analogy of Trump is like adults talking about whether or not Santa Claus is real in front of the kids. And the kids are listening, so you can't be like, hey, man, the kids are here. What are you doing? You know what I mean? So you just got to keep going. No, he's real. He's real.
He's a real man.
It's real. And it's like, no, I heard this and I heard that. It's like, oh, no. And all this, misinformation. It's the same thing as believing in Santa Claus, man. Believing in Trump is like believing in Santa Claus.
Or God.
It's for the people that are going to be convinced about it. And Trump knows it. And he'll never admit to.
Yeah, I feel that he rides his whole campaign is the same way that like evangelicals or snake oil salesmen sell their shit. And it starts with fear
you every time.
And if you think about the things that launched him, the fear was the whole thing about build a wall. That was the
and he still hasn't built the motherfucker
That was the theme.
yet.
That was the
birth
theme
certificate
that launched him to the top. That everybody first started debating about. Well, that was that launched him into political spotlight.
All right. Do we got a
Yeah.
Do we got a song?
You know it, man.
Oh, Josh is rolling out. Hey, we got dinner time.
Well,
anyway,
no, I
so
heard you getting summoned over there.
Yeah, man, I'm going to give you guys our version of
I heard you getting summoned.
This is Shaka doing
red light.
No, man, we're gonna close this one with Trod the Hard Road. Oh, it's a nice, chill, slow one for this Friday evening, and it certainly does not feel like Friday to me, ladies and gentlemen.
Fucking having a great time.
Here we are, day
707.
Day
Make 54. A wish, asshole.
5-4. Who was 54 in your sports world?
What?
Who's number 54 in your sports world?
Urlacher isn't he?
I don't know, man.
He's a bear.
A big bear.
He's a bear. Maybe he's
big
not.
Bear.
I don't know.
He's iron tough.
I'm not a Bears fan. But if my mind is right, I'm right. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, you're listening to the Mang and Neads show.
Sonic Gardens.
Sonic Gardens Radio. Thanks everybody for the comments. Luscious Larry, back again. Derek Sturdy. You know, we enjoy you guys tuning in. Feel free to call, man.
Yeah, we have a number.
The heat line.
The heat line. Thanks for having us.
This is Shaka doing Trod the Hard Road by The Green.
Thanks for joining us, Warner.
Ryan, peace, bro.
Later, guys.
Later,
bro.
Not to think